It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. There is lots to talk about. 21H1 finally available somehow to download. We'll have the details on how you can get ready, prepare yourself. Some new features for teams, especially for education. And then a big story. Microsoft is lowering game developer fees on PC, and it might even be coming to the store on Xbox. Plus, Paul Thurrott figures out finally how to get rid of the date in the taskbar. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 723, recorded Wednesday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 2021. Save the date. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Bandwidth. Bandwidth understands the challenge enterprises face when migrating to direct routing for Microsoft Teams. That's why Bandwidth launched Duet for Microsoft Teams, the only complete solution for direct routing and Microsoft-certified E911, available direct from a carrier and designed to simplify your Teams migration. Request your proof of concept at bandwidth.com/WW. And by IT Pro TV. Get the IT certifications you need to be successful in your current role or future career. Visit itpro.tv/Windows for an additional 30% off all consumer subscriptions for the lifetime of your active membership. Use the code WW30 at checkout. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we talk about the latest news from Microsoft with these two right here. Paul Thurrott from Thurrott.com, THURRO good.com.
These two.
These knuckleheads.
I'm podcasting here.
I'm netcasting here. Also, Miss Mary Jo Foley from allaboutmicrosoft.com, her ZDNet blog. We are ready to take on the monster in Redmond. I noticed it's not in your list.
Oh.
But I got a notification yesterday that rocked my world.
Oh, my God.
On my wristwatch.
What?
And I never saw anything after it. So maybe it was just somebody was teasing me. It said Bill and Melinda Gates were getting a divorce.
Oh, yeah. Right. Despite the fact that Mary Jo and I have spent approximately an hour discussing this offline, you're right. We forgot to put that in notes.
Yeah.
Not a big deal, but I think, in the world of gossip, it's relevant, it's germane. And I'll tell you what, they were a power couple, especially in terms of their philanthropy. Mm-hmm. It is said that Bill Gates was not a philanthropic fellow till he met Melinda Gates, that she convinced him even before he retired that he should really be doing this. They founded the Bill and Melinda Gates Charitable Foundation.
Sure. Melinda, how much did you contribute again of that, would you say, from a percentage perspective?
Me, personally? None.
No, Melinda.
Oh, Melinda. Well, she's getting some money. $1.8 billion in stock was transferred to her on the day of the divorce news. I don't know if that's the settlement or if that's just a beginning, because it's not. It's a fraction of Bill's total.
Well, it's all private, right? Like the way they filed, like the terms are going to be private and such.
Yeah.
But my biggest surprise that I read on TMZ, of course, because where else do you read
Where else?
Because Mary Jo hangs out on TMZ. And
I do,
can't stop.
yeah. They didn't have a prenup. That was my biggest surprise. I'm like, are you kidding? Really?
Well, I'd like to see two adults handle this in an adult fashion, and maybe
you
that's
married the richest man in the world, and you didn't get a prenup.
Yeah, nothing says love. Also, and how blind people can be to their own intelligence like that.
Well, I'm also thinking about, of course, Jeff Bezos's divorce, and his ex became a massive philanthropist with her chunk of the Amazon fortune. All on her own. And I mean, it really has been wonderful. I think of Steve Jobs' widow, Lorene, who has taken...
Who unfortunately was not able to convince him to be like this, but has been is an incredible person in her own.
And she's taking that huge fortune
Yep.
which includes Disney, Pixar, and Apple, and putting that to very good use, I thought. So maybe this just, just like splitting Microsoft would make two giant companies of equal value, maybe this is just going to do that.
Yeah, maybe.
You remember last year there was a Bill Gates documentary, right? And everyone was all, "Oh, this guy is amazing,"
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, people obviously don't understand or remember what he did, how terrible he was as a person. They completely whitewashed that in the documentary, which I found, a little off-putting.
It was TBT.
Yeah.
Too good
But,
to be.
Yes. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. But I found I will say, I found their relationship. I commented on this to my wife, who was not interested in my commentary about the quality of their relationship. She showed no interest in this. But I found their, and I guess I'll say I just find their relationship to be unusual. Like they seem like an odd couple. So I'm kind of curious what's behind this.
She was a product manager at Microsoft when they met, right? For Office.
Bob.
Well, yeah.
Bob.
Microsoft Bob. It was the only way to save her job. He had to marry her.
What a way to. That's called meet and cute. Wow.
I know. It's crazy.
Hey, Melinda, we're going to kill Microsoft, Bob. But would you like to go
what are
on
you
a
doing
date?
for the rest of your life? It's
So they were married a long time, 27 years.
Right.
They have 3 kids, age 18 to 25. I can't help but notice that the youngest is 18. There is, I think, this kind of
interesting
thing that when the kids leave the house and the dog dies, then you're on your own. And maybe there were strains in the relationship. They held off until the last one was out of the house. I don't know. But, that's none of our business, really, except that this is a massive enterprise that gives away about $5 billion a year. They say they're going to continue to work togetger.
Right, at the foundation. Yeah.
Who would not want to work with their divorced wife? I mean, I would love that.
Well, it depends. If it's an amicable divorce, I've been through this a couple of times, and if it's an amicable divorce, it's not a problem. You can really like each other and not want to live under the same roof. That's not unheard of. So,
maybe they're a victim of COVID. They were stuck with each other for a year, and they were like,
you laugh, but there are going to be a lot of divorces in the next few months.
I know, but come on.
Seriously. No, for sure.
Guys, they have a 100-room house or however many hundreds.
It's pretty big,
rooms.
isn't it?
It is, yeah. Xanadu too.
So she could have the left half, he could have the right half, or something.
I'm just saying, if they could have gotten away from each other during COVID, right?
It's going to be really interesting to see. Now, the Times says they are believed to have a prenuptial agreement. So that's the New York Times. You think it's a no? Largest owners of farmland in America.
I know. That was surprising when I read that. I was like,
it's like they're Russian oligarchs or something.
No, I actually knew that. We talked about it on Twit about 2 months ago when somebody discovered this, because they did a lot of, they bought it under a lot of holding companies and stuff. Cascade Investment, which manages Mr. Gates' personal wealth, owns large stakes in the Four Seasons hotel chain, the Canadian National Railway, and AutoNation, the nation's largest chain of car dealerships. The family's homes and properties include a 66,000 square foot Washington State mansion.
I'm sorry. 66,000?
Yeah.
It's a big house.
It has a trampoline room.
I mean, 6,600 would be a mansion. What do you call 66,000?
66,000 is too big.
That's not even a compound. It's a
compound.
Complex.
You need a golf cart but it's one building. You need a golf
Hitler's
cart.
bunker was smaller than this. What are you talking about?
Well, and Hitler didn't have a trampoline room, to our knowledge. A screening room, multi-room library filled with rare documents and artifacts. Remember, didn't Gates buy the Da Vinci Codex?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I think at least a couple of Da Vinci objects, if I'm not mistaken.
Ms. Gates has her own firm, Pivotal Ventures, which she has used to invest in issues related to women's economic empowerment. Mr. Gates has his own private office. That's what you do when you're very wealthy. You have a family office where It's like Schwab, but it's just for you.
But just for you.
The foundation employs
I have an office too. It's in the dining room.
Yeah, on the kitchen table. Yeah.
It's literally in a dining room.
Gates Ventures is his private office. It's interesting. You know, she may be, and some have said she may be very progressive. That's what happened with Mackenzie, Jeff Bezos' ex, and Lorene. Both were both of them were
Bill
very
Gates
progressive.
seems
He's pretty
progressive
progressive
himself, I would say.
Yeah.
No, and you can't forget his mom, right? His mom headed up United Way, I think, in Seattle.
Right.
So he came from a family that understood charitable giving and philanthropy, right?
Right. And then he and Melinda created the Giving Pledge along with Warren Buffett, which is that effort to get the very wealthy to commit to donating a majority of their money to charity before they died. Some people signed up for that. Some did not.
Yep. I can tell you this. The reason I knew this was a big story, even though I don't really cover Bill Gates anymore, was my mom called me that night and said, "Okay, why did they split? I'm sure you know the reason." So, Mom, no, I don't.
You need some sources, Mary Jo.
She's like, "I'm sure you know, but I'm sure you can't say." I'm like, "Mom, I don't know. I haven't covered."
No, but
Bill
even
Gates
if you
in
couldn't
like
say,
a
wouldn't you have
decade.
told your mother? You know? I mean, that's funny.
So my mom actually genuinely believes I'm in the CIA also. So I'm just setting the stage here, okay?
Somebody did call in our Club Twit and said, we were having a conversation on Club Twit, and they said, you've got to get Mary Jo to tell more stories. I guess they love the story you told when Micah was on about, getting your sources to fess up. More spy stories from Mary Jo is the #1 request. I'm just saying. Yeah.
No, so you know what this all reminded me of, like the whole split and everything. So when I think I had just started at PC Week when this happened. It was in 2016. In 1984, this came from when Bill Gates got married on New Year's Day, 1984. PC Week had an employee who lived on the island in Hawaii where he got married.
That couldn't have been. You must mean
1994. Sorry, 1994.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like messing up all my dates here. But they had a guy who lived on the island, and they had so much security there to keep people out from the wedding. He snuck in because back in the day, that's what we did at PC Week. We were really good at sneaking into things. Like it was kind of a badge of honor. Like everybody who worked there had to be really good at sneaking into stuff. And he snuck into the wedding and wrote a whole column about
Was this on? Didn't they take over an island? Was it Lanai?
They did. Lanai.
It was Lanai.
Yeah, they took over Lanai. I think he pretended to be a waiter in the catering company and got in there. He went all out.
They blocked air traffic so helicopters wouldn't hover over it. It was such a big story.
Yeah, it was.
That they and Lanai at the time hadn't really been much developed. It has now since because Larry Ellison bought it. But so we're thinking the Discord chat is thinking we should start a series of novels, starting with the Foley Identity. We could do the Foley Supremacy, the Foley Ultimatum, the Foley Legacy, the Foley Betrayal, the Foley Sanction. There's a whole series here.
Yep.
The Foley Deception.
But wait, aren't I already
Most
in
of
the
them will
Tom
be written-
Clancy series?
Are you?
Isn't somebody named Foley in there?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Pat Foley. Is that Tom Clancy?
That's interesting.
There's some famous spy character whose name is
that's really
Mary
interesting.
something Foley.
Ed Foley is in the Jack Ryan. Ed Foley appears in the Jack Ryan. Edward Ed Foley. He was director of Central Intelligence in the early 2000s. That was Dad, right? And Foley and his wife. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, his wife's name is Mary Foley.
Pat Foley, right?
CIA case officers in Moscow under the covers of as.
I didn't want to go this
Press.
far. I didn't really want to show my.
I think
true
your mom's
identity here,
right.
but she is.
A communications agent named Oleg Zaitsev contacted the Foleys with the intention to defect after learning of a plot to kill the Pope. Oh, yeah, it's Tom Clancy, right. Zaitsev agreed to provide information on the assassination plot in exchange for he and his family's safe extraction out of the Soviet Union. Foley and his wife were still working undercover as Embassy Press. I love this.
See?
It's totally true.
Guys, I didn't really want to come clean on it, but here we are. So,
Wow. So now I have to read more Jack Clancy novels. I got some catching up to do. I didn't realize Jack Ryan became president. I got a lot to read here. Okay. Wow. There's a new Clancy universe starting up on Amazon. They've got John Kelly, and it's great. It's really great. But enough of that. And I'm sorry to bring you into TMZ zone. It was not in your notes, and I was impressed. I thought, wow, they're really sticking to the news here.
We were going back and forth, like, is this going to come up?
I actually forgot about it.
You ought to know Leo is going to go for the salacious. Right? Yeah.
Well, it is a big. You know what? Bill Gates left the Microsoft board last year, and so I'm like, okay, bye. You're an interesting person, and you became.
Yeah, we're
really
done. We're done with you. Yeah,
I'm done with you. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. It's not part of our beat anymore.
Right.
I wonder, I feel like midlife crisis, except he's 64.
Yeah.
It's kind of late.
Geez. I don't think he has. Come on. This guy wears sweaters and drinks tea. He's not going anywhere.
And he doesn't seem like a womanizer. He was as a young man. He was quite famous.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
But I don't.
That's all I'm saying on that topic. No more on that one.
See, if you'd say that, then now I've got to think, well, Mary knows something.
Man. Oh, no.
She's not talking.
That requires some really good beer.
Maybe we'll have a special edition just for Club Twit. Mary Jo.
Yeah.
At
the hidden camera edition.
Yeah. I'm wearing a wire.
Mary Jo doesn't know we've got a camera trained on it. Let's see what she says.
Exactly.
Mashed Potato in our chat says, what's wrong with wearing sweaters and drinking tea? Absolutely nothing.
Exactly. Nothing.
Nothing. That's the best.
If you're lame. No, I'm just kidding.
If you're the richest man in the world. It'll be interesting if Mackenzie and she doesn't go by Bezos anymore. I can't remember her new last name. But anyway, if Mackenzie Bezos, I'll call her that, and Melinda Gates get together, the stories they'll tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, enough of that.
It's like you used to live with a Bond villain. There's only a few of those women around.
Well, exactly. Exactly. I mean, in some ways, their lives are probably very similar. In some ways, they're very different. I don't know. It'd be it's interesting.
In that you've flown a helicopter to your house on more than one occasion? Yeah, they're probably...
Yeah, but that's nothing.
Probably have lots of similarities.
I wonder if Bill's personality will change, because it is widely considered that she was a mellowing influence on him.
Right. Totally. And also much more social and sociable, right, than him. Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be
low bar, but yes.
And the kids probably, had the same impact. I know, when I had kids, it does change your, point of view. I suddenly had to work for a living. I guess Bill didn't have that problem. I wonder, he for a long time, he and Esther Dyson were good friends.
Yep.
And
Ann Winblad.
Ann Winblad. I remember he dated Ann Winblad, the VC, venture capitalist.
Well, that became very close, right? Like, didn't they almost get married?
Yeah.
Yeah. Except the rumor was his mom was like, no.
Oh, I love Ann. Ann's actually, both Ann and Esther are great people. I really think they're great people.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're super smart, which Bill is. I mean, whatever you think of him as a businessman, super smart, right?
No, and he and Ann Winblad used to go away for like Think Week kinds of things, right?
I remember he brought all of Professor, I want to say Feldman, the Caltech professors, Feynman, thank you, his very famous Red Books, they're very difficult physics lectures, on a getaway with, and I think he's already married with Ann Winblad.
He was.
Yeah. And they and so this was like a separate jaunt that just the two of them went on to read they would read these heavy books. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. A friend of mine was invited to I guess for a while Gates would have events in special places. In this case, he had rented a private railway car and invited 10 very well-known influential people. Warren Buffett was one of them, and their wives. And each night each couple was supposed to put on a presentation on some heavy-duty thing. Although my friend told me that mostly Bill and Warren went off to play bridge in the back room, back car, in the caboose. But they used to, every year, Gates would have these retreats for the most influential and interesting people. So it's really fascinating. So we're going to do a new show. I want to announce it right now on the Club Twit. Mary Jo knows and and doesn't tell. It'll be very short. Nope.
It'll be very short.
Not going to tell you that.
Yeah, no, I can't talk about that.
Can't talk about
not
that.
going to talk about that.
Nope.
You know what? We have people tell us that every day. I'm sorry. I can't speak to that issue or whatever. So that would be my answer on all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sorry to bring up the gossip, but
No, you know what? It's something to say. It's a light moment.
if we didn't talk about it at all,
I know that would be weird, right?
people would say, well,
what are they hiding?
Oh, yeah,
or
there they
avoiding,
go
right?
again. Protecting the mothership.
we'll get back to
They're
Windows
in the back pocket.
and Linux
Yes.
and
We are in the back
Xbox,
pocket.
all the things that you come to Windows Weekly for. Before we do that, though, let me do our first commercial so we can separate this Bill Gates tawdry trivia from the actual meat of the show. And I don't care what Brad Sam says. We're going to do it.
Nobody
So-
does. Oh, I'm sorry.
What did you say? Did you say something about me?
If I press B on my keyboard here, Brad pops up. I don't know why. He's like Beetlejuice. I don't know. Our show today brought to you by bandwidth. Now you might say, well, obviously, but I'm not talking. I'm not talking about that kind of bandwidth. I'm talking about bandwidth.com. Bandwidth is the first, and I think really truly the only true digital CLEC in the country. They are digital first. They're digital from the beginning. And Bandwidth has a great solution if you're using Microsoft Teams. If you want to add software-driven SIP to your Microsoft Teams, if you want to, so you make phone calls. You want it to be your phone system, basically. There's an important regulatory concern, of course, and that's 911, E911 to be specific. Bandwidth has a great solution. It's called Duet. Bandwidth's Duet for Microsoft Teams. Gives you that software-driven SIP, but they also have a really great E911 solution. They call it Dynamic E911, and it's compliant with all those complicated regulations. Plus, they've made it very easy for you to migrate without leaving any gaps in your coverage. They've got the industry-leading expertise to simplify your move. So the advanced E911 does these things that are required of you. For instance, precise location information. You don't want, if an employee's has a medical emergency or there's a fire, you want 911 to know exactly where you are. That's critical for your organization. Duet leverages dynamic location capabilities within Microsoft Teams to identify a user's location at the time of the call. It natively routes those 911 calls across Bandwidth's secure, highly reliable nationwide network to solve compliance concerns. And honestly, you could talk about compliance, but it's all about employee safety. It'll simplify direct routing migrations. If your organization's considering direct routing, Bandwidth Duet for Microsoft Teams gives you greater control, greater value. It will help you decouple your telephony from Teams. You can get the advantages of working directly with a cloud-native carrier, including failover control, you never down, call forwarding, real-time reroutes, all without leaving Microsoft Teams, all on the Teams platform. Now, if you're using a Microsoft calling plan, you can expect to save 40%. If you're probably aware of Ray Baum's Act, this requires a dispatchable location. So that's not just the street address. If you're in a building, it also includes floor, which suite includes room number. And that's so important. If an emergency medical team is trying to come to your particular office, they know exactly where to go. And by the way, and I'm kind of stunned to hear this, but apparently a lot of these systems, you use 911 to test your E911. No, Bandwidth has an unlimited 933 testing capabilities, so you can verify the location information and it all meets compliance standards, and you don't have to burden the 911 operator with actual calls. You'll have a migration provider that is a partner, and that's really important. They really are there to help you make that. This is a difficult, it can be a difficult transition, and you want to do it right. You'll get a dedicated onboarding specialist that will help you execute your project plan. There's a 24/7 NOC, expert support teams to accelerate your migration and be with you every step of the way. There's some really nice features. For instance, and this is really important with work from home, you can group your users into various logical cohorts. So location's one of them. Department is another. So you can schedule and trigger the ports for these individual groups in a way that's rational. You don't do it all at once. And you can, of course, seamlessly roll back if you ever need to. Look, everyone says they have great support. Bandwidth says it too, but they mean it. And they've been working with some of the biggest companies in the world. We've been using Bandwidth because we use Ring Central. They're a Bandwidth customer. So is Google, Genesis, Zoom uses Bandwidth, so you probably use Bandwidth already. Bandwidth's white glove customer support touts a 9.8 customer satisfaction rating. That's pretty darn good, and is uniquely positioned to help your enterprise migrate with less frustration and meet all of those compliance and regulatory requirements. Simplify your telecom migration, solve for regulatory requirements with a single cloud-native carrier. These guys know what they're doing. It's where everybody goes, including Zoom, Google, and Ring Central. They go to Bandwidth because that's the backbone. Request your proof of concept. Go to bandwidth.com/WW for Windows Weekly. Bandwidth, 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 just like bandwidth.com/WW. Please use that address so that they know you heard it here. And we thank Bandwidth so much for supporting Windows Weekly. Our sponsors make it happen. Thank you, Bandwidth. Let's talk about something like important, like Windows. Windows 10 news.
Oh, is there Windows 10 news?
Well, we can go back to the divorce. I think that's fine. I got nothing against that. What's the Windows 10 news? I can't update. I wasn't able to do the Patch Tuesday update from. Was that yesterday? Oh no, it's coming up.
No.
That's
coming
why
up next week.
Oh.
Next week.
Oh.
Yeah, actually. So we should. That's something we should talk about. That's not in the notes. That what's it called? The news and information pop up. Whatever the heck that is.
Yeah.
Thing with the weather. So that's actually not. Yeah, that's not part of a specific version of Windows. It's actually being added to all supported versions of Windows. So, one of the things I noticed, I guess it was over the weekend or just before the weekend or something, was that you can install an update preview through Windows Update and maybe get it. And I say maybe because the truth is not everyone is getting it through Windows Update. Right. Otherwise, you can just download it. So it's kind of a weird deal. So that's out there. So if you have basically any supported version of Windows and you want that, maybe that should have been a tip today, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. You can get that if you want.
Yeah. So they kind of announced this last week, but they made it so confusing in the way they worded it. Like they were like, so it's happening today. And I said to them, well, why are you saying it's happening today? And they were like, I don't know. And I'm like, so is there something else happening today that's triggering it? So yes, there was a preview update, right?
The preview update. Yeah. So I think a lot of people would, if you read carefully, if you look at Windows Update, it won't install it automatically. Even if you seek, you can trigger the download, but it's literally an update preview. So this technically shipped in April. So it's an update preview for a preview that will be available broadly in May, meaning next Tuesday on Patch Tuesday. So I don't know why I said that first, but the reason I said that was Microsoft has essentially finalized Windows 10 version 21H1, right? The next major release, such as it is. It will begin deploying that to users soon. There's no actual date on that, but we kind of speculated Patch Tuesday, whatever, we'll see. You can install it now if you really want it, going through the Windows Insider Preview, et cetera, et cetera. There are no major new features. The one I can think of off the top of my head that is new is the ability to have multiple Windows Hello webcams, which is useful for people working from home, especially, but just working off of a laptop if you have it docked. Oftentimes the laptop will kind of be off to the side. And you'll have this display in front of you with a keyboard and mouse, and you can put a camera up in front of you, that's a more natural way to sign in. So they will support that, and that's kind of about it. you know,
there's like some Windows Defender Application Guard and management instrumentation group policy stuff, but very minor update.
Yep. Yeah. So like the past couple of updates, same thing, enabling package. It's the same underlying code base as the previous two versions of Windows. We use the same drivers, the same, basically get the same updates, even though they'll probably give them different names depending on the version. But anyway, the point of all that is when you install this, you might think you're going to get that feed thing, and you're not. You're not necessarily. That comes from a separate cumulative update for some reason. So,
right.
Yeah. Oh, and I should say too, sorry, even that not everyone will see it. So even if you're running a supported version of Windows 10 and you go to Windows Update and check for updates, it might not pop up. They're staggering that release as well. So you can manually download the KB exe if you want to get it and install it now for some reason. I happened to get it. I just installed it. I saw the preview thing. I didn't know what it was. I said, sure, whatever. I say yes to everything. I'm beloved by people like Jehovah's Witnesses. But anyway, I didn't mean to get it, but it appeared, and I was like, "Oh, there it is. How do you turn that off? Oh, you right-click it. Nice." And that was, that.
Yeah. You're a seeker. That's why you did it. You're a seeker by nature.
It feels like that could be your memoir title. I didn't mean to get it, but it appeared.
I saw a light coming down the tunnel, and I went toward it. I don't know.
There it was.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah. Anyway, it's almost here. I feel like we've been saying it's almost here for almost 10 months or something. Like, it's almost here now. Yep, almost. Yeah. Here comes. But I think my guess, unless something goes horribly wrong with testing between now and next week, that'll happen on Patch Tuesday. It'll be like, okay, It's Patch Tuesday. People want to seek this. You can go get it. Right. Put it in the volume licensing channel. Put it in Windows Server Update services. Do all that stuff. So. But we haven't heard that definitively. But that's
that's reasonable, and that follows the schedule. And
right.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Somebody in our chat room, Rat Cuddy, love his name, says, "I got it, and I'm glad we have the option to hide it."
Yeah.
Oh, the news and interest. Yeah.
News and interest. Right. So you want to look. You see, it's a little weather icon on your taskbar. You naturally going to click it. Actually, I think you just have to mouse over it. And a second start menu pops up, and it has rounded rectangle tiles with MSN News stories. And I don't know if you've ever seen MSN News. If you use Microsoft Edge, you have. It's not great. It's not what I would call a high quality news service.
You remember? So do you remember WeatherBug?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That was it wasn't malware, but it was aggressive. Kind of salesware.
It was. Yep.
Not Norbert in our Discord chat says it would save me from removing WeatherBug from computers all the time.
Yeah.
But people like weather. There's something about weather.
I know.
Yeah, I actually don't mind the weather icon in the taskbar. To be honest, if I could have that without anything ever popping up, that would be fine. But because I can't, I just turn it off.
Yeah. God, I forgot about WeatherBug.
Weather's available everywhere. Weather's in your calendar now.
Oh, everywhere.
It's everywhere.
On
your home screen.
When you install Linux, it's right there at the top.
Yeah, I don't know why
reason to use Linux.
I have a command line that'll give me the latest weather. It actually draws a picture of the sun. It's really cool.
I spent a considerable amount of time researching. You can customize the way that the date and time are displayed in the taskbar, right? So not surprising, we have different regions, different ways of displaying that information. You can customize it to your heart's content with different numbers before and after the colon in the time, and whether seconds are on or not. You can do all kinds of stuff. You know what you can't do though is just have the time, unless you shrink the taskbar down.
That's what I really want. It's just the time.
That's what I really want too, because when I take screenshots for the book, I don't want the date in there. I want it to be timeless.
Yeah.
And that is literally not one of the things you can do.
That's so annoying.
I'd rather have the weather be there.
What do you do? Do you blur it out and you have to open Photoshop?
No, I just leave it alone. But I'm thinking for the future. I've been thinking about this a lot. Like I said, I just researched this. I take as many screenshots as I can without involving that. I may literally just edit the screenshots.
You could hide the menu bar, right? The tool.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to show it because you're showing that.
Right. That's what you're showing.
Or you're showing a full screenshot, whatever it is. And I think I'm going to manually edit them so that the date is centered, and I just don't want the
no, I understand completely.
I don't want the date.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was just an aside, but it's interesting how what you can and can't do when it comes to customizing the taskbar. So like, the date, the weather thing, it'd be nice to have a little weather display in the taskbar and just have it be just weather, but that's not a thing.
Okay. Hey, I ask you this every time. When I do update, I always get this optional cumulative update for H20, I think it's 21H1, I don't know. But it's optional.
Or
should I do it? Is it it's like a test thing, or is it real?
the test things are the ones that say preview.
Yeah, I think it might be I have to look again.
I find it, by the way, I think it's disgusting that Microsoft sends out preview updates to people.
Yeah, don't show me that if I don't need it. Yes, it's the optional quality update available, cumulative update preview for Windows 10 version 20H2.
So that's a thing, right? So you're seeing that because next month you're going to get the non-preview.
But I'm not an insider. I didn't sign up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand why this. Microsoft, to my knowledge, never came out one day and said, "Hey, by the way, we're going to start doing this new thing." But they quietly one day started doing this new thing where they started shipping preview.
Remember when they were explaining week B, week C, week D? I'm like, most normal people are not following this. Like, they don't know week C, week D, right?
Yeah. What week are you in? I don't know.
And they don't even know, like, am I downloading a preview? Am I not downloading a preview? Like, I think it's just a way to get more people to test it, right?
That's not.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying never be a seeker. Never be a seeker.
Well, okay. Well, all right. That's a little.
I know you have to for your job, but like other normal people shouldn't be seekers.
Yeah, I don't know why they do this. So if it's you have to, because the names of these things are so long too. They take up the whole screen, so you kind of read through it, and then like 13 words in, it says preview. You're like, yeah, okay. People shouldn't have to worry about that kind of thing. So I tend to knee-jerk install stuff because I do this for a living. But you're right. No one should be installing. No one normal should be. No one normal's listening to the show anyway. But I mean, no, you know what I mean, right?
Except me and my mom. Otherwise, no.
Yeah. We're all Abby normal here. It's okay. Yeah, I mean, look, the technical types listening to Windows Weekly will be doing this too, so they don't need our advice one way or the other. No. But I just find it reprehensible that Microsoft ships preview updates to everybody in the world, and some of them will install them, and not that there are horror stories about things going wrong or whatever, but these things require a reboot. They're just unnecessary.
Is it that Microsoft thinks that normal people just never see that Windows update control panel? That they just That's
look, my Mary Jo knows my wife. Actually, you met my wife as well. She's a smart woman, really smart woman. This is years ago, but one time went up and looked at her computer while she was working, and I said, "What's this?" It was like a window off down in the corner, and it was one of those little pop-ups like you need to install this update and reboot. And she's like, "Yeah, it wouldn't get out of the way, so I dragged it off to the corner." And I'm like, "Stephanie, like you gotta install these things. Like if it's so serious that it's popping up saying please reboot right now, I mean, maybe it's time to take the 10 minutes or whatever it is."
Parenthetically, Pog in our chat room says he's found a link that says how to make only the time visible in the taskbar.
Oh,
you may already know about this. This is from the Windows Club.
Okay. I spent a lot of time looking for this. So I'm actually now, by the way, does it involve shrinking the taskbar?
Yes.
Because if it does, then I'm not interested. I said that up front. You can do it that way.
Under personalization, you can use small taskbar buttons.
Yeah, no, I don't want that.
And that reduces the width of the taskbar, and the date is no longer. You knew this already.
I said it. This is the first thing I said, guys. Come on. Yes.
You could hide the clock in turn system icons on or off, toggle switch for clock to off position, but then so you wouldn't get the clock or the date.
Yes.
That'd be okay. You don't want the time either.
I do want the time. So I want it to resemble what people see.
Right. But you don't want it to be too weird. I get what you're saying.
I could be really dumb about it and just say, change the date temporarily to 1/1.
Set your system date to the year 2525. And people will go, wow, he's living in the future.
I'm trying to.
Can you use whiteout, a little whiteout on the
it's not that kind of a book, Mary Jo, but
I know. Virtual whiteout. Can't we use that?
No, I would be shocked if someone came up and said there is a way to do what I want to do, because I really did look into this and I don't believe there is a way.
Yeah.
It's too bad. Anyway, it's not a big deal.
Sorry, Paul.
No, not.
I told him what you said and he laughed.
No, I thank you for trying to help. I have exhausted that resource.
Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you can do that in Linux. But I don't think you should do your Windows field guide screenshots in Linux.
Probably not.
Just thinking. Probably not
Maybe
the
not.
best place to do it. Okay.
It's weird that we cannot customize this. That's all.
You buried the lead. The really, really good news is not this calendar or anything. It is Microsoft is finally removing Flash permanently, irrevocably from Windows.
You might ask, what took so long?
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, even Adobe stopped flashing.
Microsoft
last
announced
year.
they were going to do this, by the way, in 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know
4
why.
years
It's
ago.
the same reason Microsoft can't do lots of things. Legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they are getting rid of it now. So you can, I believe, as a user, even as an organization, install Flash, right? And if you want that, I suppose. I don't know why anyone would, other than backwards compatibility, but there is actually, by the way, we were just talking about preview updates. That is also available as a preview update right now.
Now I want to install it.
Yeah, but if you wait, as of next Tuesday, it will just come out. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Actually, I might have that. Maybe
No, I never installed Flash. So Microsoft wasn't installing Flash, right? Or were they? I've never installed it.
there is a Flash component built into Windows.
Oh my God.
Yeah, for Internet Explorer originally.
Well, I guess that's a convenience.
So this removes that. If you upgrade to 28.1, by the way, Flash will be removed as part of that. It looks like, okay, I guess the preview version of the update is available now. It's for versions 1809 and above. Actually, I'm sorry, that's coming out in June. And then the final version comes out in July. And it will be included in subsequent cumulative updates, blah, blah, blah. But if you're using an older version of Windows 10, 1607 or 1507, which, by the way, is V1, that there'll be a KB coming out in July. They're literally going to strip this from all supported versions of Windows. This includes Windows 8.1, Windows Server, right? Windows Embedded Standard. They're going to get rid of it everywhere.
Wow.
Over the summer.
Wow.
It's going to be a cruel summer.
Summer loving made me feel bad.
Nope, you're not getting flat.
You're not getting flat. Oh well, oh well, oh well, oh well. Linux.
HTML5, HTML5.
The cascading side sheets really had me alive. Linux. This we were talking about this on the Untitled Linux show, which we do on Saturday in the Club Twit.
I'm sorry, is it really called the Untitled Linux Show?
Yeah, it's my favorite name. They want to call it like Tux Times or Tux Weekly. I think.
Oh
no,
no.
The Untitled Linux show is the best.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Right?
good. Yeah.
That's what I've been.
I mean,
saying.
if you guys all wore a tux every time you recorded the show,
then maybe. Anyway, we were talking about this, and I didn't really have any insight into it. Microsoft has bought a Linux vendor.
Before we go
I was
into this,
hoping you did. Yes.
Before we
Go
talk about this, could I just say thank you, Mary Jo, for not making this the #1 story this week?
I did think about it.
I figured.
It was like Bill Gates' divorce or Flatcar Linux. I don't know, like which one. It was tough.
Which impacts more people?
No, so I did not know Kinvolk is the name of the company, the creator and distributor of Flatcar Linux. Flatcar Container Linux, sorry. The word container is very important here because if you look at what Microsoft's thinking about doing with Flatcar Linux, Flatcar Container Linux, it has more to do with the container than it has to do with the Linux, pretty much. They're going to make this somehow fold in with, or at least have their engineers who work on Flatcar fold into the Azure Kubernetes service. So, managing containers. Azure Arc, which is a management service for Microsoft Azure services on all kinds of clouds. And unspecified future projects that will expand Azure's hypercontainer platform capabilities. This is all about containers, right? Not so much about like Linux on Azure. It's more about containers. But still kind of shocking, right? Can you imagine, like, even a few years ago, Microsoft just bought a Linux company, right? Like, they have a Linux distribution. I mean, Microsoft already has its own Linux distribution.
Yeah, because they have the
internally
kernel for WSL, right?
Yeah, and they built one called CBL Mariner, which they use in Azure.
I wonder if this replaces CBL Mariner.
They didn't say that. So
or
maybe
it could,
not.
It could, I mean, buying a Linux distro, I'm not sure what even, you really, this must be an acqui-hire, right?
Right. They want the container experts, right, who work there.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because, it's all open source. You don't really need
They're
to
like,
buy
guys,
it.
can you tell us, how can we just have the time in our taskbar? I know Linux does that.
We know you do that. How would we do that?
Do you know how to do that?
We're going to buy a company just so we can do that. Yeah, I still was surprised, though. I made fun of Windows Central on Twitter because they put Microsoft buys yet another company. And I'm like, why don't you say Microsoft buys a Linux vendor? You might get more clicks than yet another company.
Everyone's trying to be so cute these days with headlines,
I also think some people are trying to make the point that it used to be so shocking anytime Microsoft did something open source related or Linux related. And now it's like, oh, yeah, they bought a Linux distro. Who cares, right? Sure. But still, I think it's interesting and kind of telling and shows.
It's a long way from Linux as a cancer to, we're going to buy some.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. This has more to do with Azure and...
It does,
and so forth. But it's still, it's not like they're going to release this as Microsoft Linux or something.
No.
He says prophetically, and then like a year from now,
I would say no.
Microsoft today announced.
Well, I'm on record for saying that eventually Microsoft just replace Windows with Linux and have it.
Oh, a lot of people think that.
Yeah,
a lot of people think that. Yeah.
I mean, they feel like they're inching toward it. I don't see why they would do that, but it feels like they're inching toward it.
I just don't think it's worth the investment of time and effort.
No point. Linux is already here. Linux is Linux. You can use it. I dual boot.
Look, you want the apps, right? The reason we run Windows is because of the apps. So I guess would the ability to run all Windows apps on Linux be desirable? Obviously, right? Obviously. Yeah. Does it behoove Microsoft to make that happen?
No.
I mean, the stat we keep talking about, more than half of all workloads on Azure are Linux based. But again, that doesn't mean you have to replace Windows with Linux, right? They want to give people the option.
I think what you're really seeing here is the option is the key word. Is in the long run, it's not going to matter what OS you're using. That's secondary.
Absolutely true.
That's just something that's managing your hard drive and RAM and, keeping the fans.
It's going to be more unusual that you can't find something on whatever platform you've chosen.
Yeah, because it's all going to be in the cloud.
Yeah.
Right. Virtual services, WVD.
Web apps.
The coming cloud PC.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it was still interesting. I was still kind of like, wow, okay.
By the way, everybody, that said, Mary Jo and I will be playing a song on the deck of the ship until it goes down. So don't worry about that. But yes, the future is absolutely heterogeneous.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, and then just as a semi-related note, because all things open source, when you hear the word open source, you automatically think of Microsoft, right? So Microsoft open sourced a tool that they built called Counterfeit, not spelled like counterfeit, but like a counter and fit.
It's not a good name.
Yeah, which is odd. It's a tool to stop your AI from getting hacked, is how one of our reporters described it. Right?
Is it a robot dog? Is it involve robotics in any way?
No, not really. No. But yeah, it's kind of hard to explain this, but it's a tool that shores up your AI system from machine learning attacks, right? right? And so Microsoft built this. They put it on GitHub. It's available to anyone to use as they see fit. Mark Russinovich tweeted it. So he's a big believer, I guess, in this whole more open source. He is actually. Like, he's the guy who said maybe one day Microsoft will open source Windows. Remember that? He said that like several years back. And everybody freaked
another
out.
thing that's never going to happen. There's too many swear words in the source code. They can never release that.
Yeah. It's still kind of cool, though. Every time they do, they have an open source project office at Microsoft and a Linux office at Microsoft. And whenever they do any of these things, I guess because I'm so old and I've covered the company for so long, I'm like, yeah, it's different to see this be Microsoft, right?
Yeah. I'm not even old, and I think that. Wait a minute.
See? Yeah, you're not even old, and you think it too.
It is a very different Microsoft, and
it is.
I love it. I mean, it's a much better Microsoft than the bad old days, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think, don't you?
I do too. Yes. And also, if you want to attract employees these days, you can't be an adversary to open source, because the people you want to hire are all people who use open source tools and are steeped
That's
in
a very
it,
good
right?
point. Yeah. That's the entire explanation for WSL, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Rich Turner, I forget where he worked before he came back to Microsoft, but he's like, you guys need to do some Linux tools for Windows, guys, like command line, and like get Linux on Windows. He was saying, if you want developers, you have to do this, right?
It's true. Yep. Yeah. And there are reasons why you'd want a hybrid too. I mean, I think it's the best of both worlds, right? You get a mainstream operating system with a lot of mainstream apps, but you also get the development tools you want. I think it makes a lot of sense, frankly.
It does. Yeah.
Okay. Counterfeit. Not a good name.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Not spelled the way you would think.
Yeah, not FEIT.
Counterfeit is what I do at night. I have a giant bowl of cheese balls and drink some wine.
You know when you do bench presses against your counter while you're eating cheese
I'm
balls?
counterfeit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's spelled with a FIT. Although I honestly think probably most people think that's how you spell counterfeit, as in counterfeit currency.
Yeah, maybe, right?
Who knew FEIT? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What is that, a German word? Where'd that come from?
Kinvolk. I blame Kinvolk.
For the Kinvolk. They're from Germany. They are from Germany. So Microsoft is acquiring, and they're Berlin, the same as the Wunder kids.
Right, yep.
The Wunderkinder.
Yep. Yeah.
Paul, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something?
No.
Okay.
Microsoft has a nice office in Berlin that was formerly...
You've been there. Checkpoint Charlie.
Wunderlist.
Wunderlist.
Yeah.
Wunderlist, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And they do Microsoft To Do and some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Wunderkinds made Wunderlist. Yeah?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. MS Office 365. I'm sorry. Microsoft 365. Yes. Right? We don't say Office anymore.
Right. Although they did on their last earnings call.
Yeah, exactly.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. Confusingly.
I don't know if that was a mistake or not, but yeah. Yeah, so this is Teacher Appreciation Week, if you didn't know that. And so Microsoft announced a whole bunch of features coming through from May to August. So right ahead of the new school year for teams for education. And there are a couple of interesting ones in here. One is called a tool called Reading Progress, which is meant to help people learn how to read out loud better. It corrects you on pronunciation and gives you your stats. Like you mispronounced X number of words, you're reading things this quickly or that quickly. And they said, this is good for people who not just well, it's good for everybody who needs to learn how to read faster and better, but it also is good especially for people for whom English is not their first language and people with dyslexia. Like this could really help those two groups quite a bit. And so they're building this for Teams as a free tool, Teams for Education. Yep, that's pretty cool. They've got something called supervised chat in Teams that's going to let certain teachers who are designated teachers manage and initiate chats with students in a secure way so that people are in like a safe space inside of Teams. That's coming later this month. There's calendar integrations to let people, students see when their classes are and when their assignments are due. That's super handy. If I were a student using Teams, I would want this, right? That's coming in August. There's group assignments, so teachers can assign groups of students a certain assignment as a group rather than as a bunch of individuals. So it's all these kind of incremental updates that they're adding to Teams, getting people ready for the new school year, assuming there will be in-person learning, and if there isn't, at least the continued remote learning or hybrid learning. And then they also announced some Minecraft Education Edition things. So they're integrating Minecraft Education Edition with Teams and with Flipgrid. I don't know how many people know what Flipgrid is. Do you know what that is, by the way?
I thought Flipgrid, wasn't that a kind of a Surface Studio type thing? Or am I thinking, maybe I'm confusing that with the Google thing?
It sounds really familiar.
Microsoft owns this video product for education called Flipgrid, and students can make recordings. It's almost like TikTok for education. That wouldn't go quite that far, but similar concept to that kind of. So they're integrating Minecraft Education Edition with that, and they're going to change the licensing so people can use Minecraft Education Edition outside the classroom. I guess you couldn't do that right now. So you can use it at for homeschooling and camps and clubs and things like that. So yeah, lots of good stuff if you're a student or a teacher who wants to use Teams. All goodness, I think.
What was the Google competitor to Surface Studio? I think that might be what I'm...
Jamboard.
Oh, Jamboard.
Is that the thing you're thinking?
Yes, Jamboard. Yeah. And it's funny, did you see that hysterical Sunday Times article about the new Google offices?
Yes.
Oh, my God. You got to watch it online, though, because the print won't have these animated GIFs, but... for one thing, the pods all have Jamboards all over the place, so we now know what Google
is the thing with all of those inflatable walls and
inflatable walls. There's so you say, I guess there's a button you press it and you say, I want privacy, and a robot comes in that expands. But looking at the animated GIF, looks like it takes like 15 minutes to slowly expand and slowly inflate.
It like slowly makes like a balloon deflating sound.
It looks like something out of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like it's a pod that's about to envelop you because it's kind of shiny rainbow colored and it slowly expands. Like it's really organic and creepy and weird.
And your meeting's over by the time it actually fully expands.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the animated GIF that the New York Times had, people are moving like this really fast, and the thing is just slowly creeping up.
The problem is everybody built these open office spaces, and now
that's exactly what it is.
We're going back in.
Google's saying, okay, so how do we reinvent this? Yeah, that was
always the open office thing was always a mistake to me.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I for some reason my wife has come up here twice. My wife has a story from when she was in high school. They briefly tried this thing where they had those temporary walls, partitions between schoolrooms.
Yeah. And
the idea was that you would sort of take in what was being taught in the next classroom.
Yeah.
And all it was loud. It was just annoying. Or two kids would get in a fight and the wall would crash down. And I feel like open offices is the same thing. So it's like we're taking all the walls down, and then everyone buys noise-canceling headphones.
I know, right? Yep.
And it's just that was never a good idea.
Yeah. So there's the Jamboard.
Yeah.
But let me.
Where's the? I want to see this wall thing.
Oh yeah, you got to see this thing. By the way, they're setting up campgrounds in the parking lot with Adirondack chairs and.
Microsoft has a tree house. Come on.
Well, I'm wondering. This is, if Google's doing this, Microsoft's going to do it because you've got to attract the college kids, right?
You got to get the millennials.
So
whatever they're called.
Here's a seat you want where there's a vent blowing straight at your head. That's to blow the germs away. I guess
that's the seat I always get in restaurants.
Yeah,
it is. Yep.
Here it is. Okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
Now this is the end of it. Wait. It'll reset. Okay. So there's the robot. Now notice these people are moving very quickly. The robot is slowly going to inflate.
Oh, this is terrible.
This is so... I would have traumatic stress syndrome from this.
Yeah.
What you're not hearing is like the thing inflating sounds like...
See how slow it is? I guess
Yeah,
that
that's
doesn't
not good.
scare you. I don't, but it's more
No.
scary to me, like it's creeping up on you.
Yeah,
Why
that's not
is it?
good.
Oh God, it's almost like organic too.
It's
so
organic.
weird.
It looks like you're in a pod. The pod people are
That
about
thing's going to grab her and pull her in.
Yes. Feed me, Seymour. Isn't that
I guess you'd get
creepy?
used to this.
I, you
This
know,
is so weird.
You would never.
this is
get
what
used
happens if you have more money than sense. That's what I think.
I know, right?
That's funny.
Yeah.
But so I want now from you guys, I want the story on what Microsoft's going to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
they built all that open office space right before the pandemic, right? As part of their campus revitalization.
So did Apple. And almost instantly people were complaining at Apple. I can't get any work done. This
everybody
is
at
awful.
Microsoft was too.
The best thing at Apple is like all the people that ran into the glass walls. Because when they're clean, you can't see them.
Oh, that's right. That happened.
so
At,
good.
that happened at the Apple
Stickers.
campus because, of course,
Yeah.
they're very clean glass and they're curved. There's no seams,
Yeah.
and people were hurting themselves. There's nose.
man.
There's nose prints all.
Yep, that's awesome.
I shouldn't laugh.
That's awesome.
They ended up putting decals on them, I think, because it was actually hazardous.
Yeah.
It's like
I wonder
the people.
what Microsoft's going to do. I do. I wonder what they're going to do.
Well, on the one hand, well, I don't know. It seems like the people who design these actually don't work in them.
No kidding, right? I know.
mean, Microsoft was
No,
famous
because-
for having offices for every, right? This was
They
their,
did.
They're
Yeah.
famous
Right.
for
Yep.
that.
No, and then when
Now,
they started
granted-
building the open, remember when they started to build the open office space, and they made all these like pods for huddles and community stand-ups and stuff like that were separate. Like, but they showed that you still need that kind of secluded space, and they still have conference rooms at Microsoft.
Yeah, they
right?
still. I think you still need a mix of spaces, right?
Yeah.
You want a private office if you can get it. And the meeting spaces, like you said, are pods where you have small groups of people, whatever, or an open space where people can kind of gather. Look, it's not. We're not.
I hate open spaces. I
hate open spaces as the only thing in a building. Like that
Right.
shouldn't be the office. It's okay
No.
for there to be an
I
open
agree.
space, but
agree.
I should also be able to go back to an office.
Our old studios, the beautiful brick house, gorgeous studios, we got kind of booted out because they were selling the building. And the new owners who came up from San Diego and really didn't know what they were doing turned it into a co-working space. And it's all open. And it's like our old studio. It's beautiful. But I remember nobody wanted to work in our studio. It's like, can I have an office, please? Can I have a corner? I don't want to be in the middle of this, especially with cameras rolling and, you're on camera. And
Sure.
so, I kind of like in a house, I like having a big open space for the kind of the great room, the family room kind of thing. I don't mind that. Our kitchen is is kind of open, and then the dining room is open. It's all open, but then you go to when you go to bed, you have a private space.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
That's how I built my house in Valheim, but that's another story. 90 days till the end of support for Skype for Business Online. Is this the beginning of the end of Skype? Is the clock ticking now? Skype death
they
clock.
haven't said that. They haven't said it, and they keep making the case that there's a reason for Skype consumer to exist alongside Teams.
And not
'cause they
just as
say-
a butt of jokes.
Exactly. Because if you think about it, like Teams is the everything platform, like the everything store, that kind of thing. And Skype just does chat and meetings. That's like all it does, right? And Teams is your operating system, basically. But on the business side, Skype for Business Online, this is because they're trying to move that group of people to Teams, right? And they've been warning them for years that we're going to phase this out. Here it comes, July 31st, 2021. That's it, guys. It's over. Not the on-prem, though. Skype for Business server will continue. Only the online version will go away then. Like we say all the time, it's because of legacy. Microsoft never does anything hasty when it comes to businesses. They try to get people to move, but they give them a lot of runway to do that. And there's a whole series of steps that Microsoft advocates you take, like all these different things that they're going to take away over time, right? Like, so first, services that integrate with Skype for Business Online go away. Then you won't be able to move online users out of Teams only after a certain date. Like, there's all these steps. Like, it's like, okay, we're warning you. It's gone.
They have a hard time. letting go.
But
They
you
should
know,
bring in somebody from Google. They're so good at killing things.
Oh yeah, yeah. How do you guys do it? No, we just kill it. You know,
I know.
It's like tearing the Band-Aid off the wound. There,
you know, that's the difference between being an enterprise company and not
that's
being
true.
Yeah, no,
That's true.
Apple and Google both. You know, you can see the big difference between them and Microsoft. You know,
Yeah.
Microsoft. There's no technology they'll ever truly leave behind if somebody needs it. You know,
Right. No, it's true. Except one day, Internet Explorer. One day, we don't know when that day is, but one day.
But I mean, how many years has this taken? When
I know.
When was the current version, so to speak, of Internet Explorer first released? Right, it was like a decade ago, wasn't it? Almost.
11. Is that the most recent? IE 11, I think. Yeah.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might
Anyway,
be 12. Looking at it now, I don't even know.
I know it was so long ago.
It's
We didn't
11.
even cover it.
It is.
Right.
It
It
is
is 11.
11.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but Skype consumer, I have not heard anything that makes me believe there's an imminent plan to kill it. Maybe there's a long-term plan, but right now there's no imminent plan.
Well, as you know, we've pretty much abandoned it.
Yeah.
I partly because of mostly because of technical reasons, but I always had this kind of feeling that we should probably find a solution, an alternate before one day I
That
wake
day
up
comes.
and
Yeah.
we don't have Skype, so we're using Zoom now, and I don't think Zoom's going anywhere. And I think we're pretty happy with the picture and the video and
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that seems to be working well.
It works well. Yeah, I mean, I started using Skype in 2005.
That's
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah.
There was still some Pascal in there.
They weren't owned by Microsoft yet. That's when that's when we started the podcast network. And in fact, if it weren't for Skype, I wouldn't have been able to do it because nobody was in nobody lives in Petaluma except me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Skype, I thank you, Skype. We'll miss you, but
One day.
One
Whenever
day.
that day.
I'll also miss my non-electric typerighter.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
My Selectric,
Like it
even
was
my Selectric,
at the
yeah.
time, it was it was great.
Yeah, I still wish I had a Selectric. Then with a
I
ball.
love my typewriter.
Do you still have one?
You could take
Mary
the
Jo?
ball out and use different fonts.
No.
Yeah, use different fonts. You
Yeah.
can replace the ball. They had a big speechwriter font that was really big. Oh, I loved that.
No, I
Boom,
learned how to.
boom.
I learned how to type on a manual typewriter, and
course.
then I got an
Yeah.
electric
I did too.
typewriter.
Yeah, me too.
And it was amazing. I was like, "Oh man, an
It was so
electric
good when
typewriter.
we got electric.
I had really strong finger muscles though back in those days.
Yeah.
You know,
Me
you could
too.
really
No kidding. Yep.
That and working
Yeah.
on the grill at McDonald's, man, my fingers are. You stand
Oh,
back.
man.
They're lethal weapons.
you don't even have fingerprints anymore.
No,
I bet.
no, long gone. So I remember that when they're teaching you the grill, I say, you just put your fingers on the burgers when you flip them. What do you mean? They're hot. Nah, you'll get used to it.
You get used to it.
You'll get used to it.
Just let the burn heal. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's not that it doesn't hurt. It's that you just don't care. Slow changes come to Excel for the web.
Show changes. So
Oh,
not slow changes.
That's not
Although,
as
slow
interesting.
changes- my only issue with this story is that what is the deal with putting stuff on the web? I don't understand.
I know. Why is it always
uses
first,
this?
right?
Yeah, I guess because it's easiest, maybe. But I wish I'd like to see Microsoft develop a strategy for new features in Office products where it appears first on the web and then after 30 days it appears on desktop or something like that. Like because because the inevitable question is, okay, I'm very interested in this feature. When am I going to get it?
I know. No one knows.
No idea.
I know.
Sorry, no one has said anything about that.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I know.
Show changes is a way. It's basically that unlimited undo type of thing where you can go back and see all of the changes over 60 days that any person has made to an Excel spreadsheet, because you can collaborate with others, obviously, and that's awesome, right? That's a great feature. I'd love to have it in real Excel. Or desktop Excel or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, right now, if you want this feature, it's generally available on the web only.
Right.
No idea if it's ever coming to other platforms. I don't know.
It seems to be super, super popular based on, I tweeted about it.
Yeah.
And people were like flipping out.
Like, oh my
about
God.
it.
Yep, this is a
man.
game changer. Yep. Yep.
And now, thanks to Kev Brewer in our Discord chat, a little musical interlude from Leroy Anderson.
Not
You
from
might
Leroy
remember
Jenkins.
this. Everybody, type along.
Wow. This is almost as good as Pac-Man Fever.
This is from 1953. It was a big hit. It's funny.
So this falls into the same category as like Monster Mash and I guess
was a
Pac-Man
novelty.
Fever.
Yeah, it was a novelty.
It's not, Werewolves of London.
But I wonder if you play Werewolves of London is not a novelty to you. Shut your
I knew.
mouth.
I was wondering if someone was going to call
Shut
me.
your
I didn't think it was going
mouth.
to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Warren Zevon. Yes, I apologize.
Warren Zevon is one of the greats. I am appalled. Wait a minute.
As I said that.
Now, I wonder if you played this today, if anybody under 50 would know what the hell's that sound.
There's a great YouTube video. It's there somewhere about. It's a joke video. Someone who is an expert typist uses a computer for the first time.
Yeah.
And when they do that, that's where you sway. I don't even remember
They
what it's
do
called.
that.
The lever
Yeah,
you
the
sway.
carriage
They
return.
sway. They push the keyboard off the table.
It's still in my wrist. You notice? I still, I still got it. Whoop.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that funny?
What was that called? It was
Carriage
like a metal
return.
arm.
Carriage
return. Of course, the carriage return.
CR, it lives on.
Yep.
You got your line feed and you got your carriage return.
Yep.
Yep. Right.
CRLF. Let's take a little teeny break, and then we will gird our loins for the Xbox segment.
Extravaganza.
It's
There's
a
a lot.
good
it's a
one today.
lot. Holy
Good one.
cow!
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
I might
says
weigh
Paul.
in. I might weigh in.
Really?
Here or there.
Oh, that'd be
I'm gonna do this one with a twist too, but we'll get to that.
I was so I had a busy morning. I got up did a zone class at 8 a.m. It's one of those things where they have a timer and they go 3, 2, 1, go, and you have to move around and do different things. Then at 9 a.m. I sat down at my keyboard and started a Twitch stream playing Valheim. Did that for about an hour and a half. Then I said, "Oh crap, I got to go Windows Weekly calls." So it's been an exciting day for me. I'm a Twitch streamer, man. What can I say? I'm doing this.
Do you wear a baseball cap backwards and say,
Actually-
"Hey, yo, what's up, dogs?"
Yeah, I got to learn the lingo.
Yeah,
You got to learn the lingo. I did.
You got to be like Steve Buscemi going back to high school.
Exactly. Hey, fellow kids. That's going to be my greeting. Hey,
Yes.
fellow kids.
Like hold a skateboard.
I admit, collect a bunch of hats from my collection. I've been wondering what to do with my hat collection. Now that
See?
I'm a Twitch streamer, I'm ready.
I'm just thinking, you got to have the costume.
I got a costume, baby. I'm ready. This is the role I was born to play.
It's true. But it's years of preparation.
I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. PewDiePie's been getting all the attention.
Oh boy. not for the right reasons.
No, true. Lisa and I are going to move to a house in Beverly Hills and invite 15 teenagers to live with us. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Can't wait. No, I'm not going to do that. Our show today brought to you by IT Pro TV. If you are a little saner, a little more sensible, and you're thinking, I like this technology stuff, I wouldn't mind a career in IT, I have something for you. In fact, even if you already are in IT, and I know a lot of you are, you know that one of the best things about working in IT is there's always something new to learn. Sometimes people say that's the worst thing, but if you like to learn, it's great. There's always, new versions of software, new software to learn. And in one respect, these certifications are very helpful. So if you're trying to get that first job, of course, you don't have any experience. A certification says, this person knows this material. And frankly, it's unless you're getting hired by your mom, it's probably the only way to get a good IT job. But the certs also are part of your continuing education if you're in IT. It proves to your employers you have the skills and knowledge to do the job, and certs only last so long, so you got to stay on top of recertification and be aware of updates. And if you're taking the exam, man, just because you took it once a couple of years ago doesn't mean it has not changed. It's changing all the time. That's why IT Pro TV could be vital to your career, both as a starting IT person and as a long-time IT person. You can get certified or recertified in CompTIA. Those are those grade A+, Security Plus, Network Plus certs. Cisco, they have a ton of them. ISC Squared, that's one of them is a Certified Ethical Hacker, which I think everybody should just have that as a cert. That's a good cert. Axelos. Microsoft, of course, has its certs. That's why you need IT Pro TV. They'll tell you how long a cert will last. They'll give you the tools to complete it. IT Pro TV gives you a well-rounded educational experience. It's not just watching TV. It's so much better, honestly. You get virtual labs, which are so much fun because you can do them in a browser. And if you, as I often do, screw up this, configuring the Windows server, you just close the tab. It's all gone. Nobody knows. You can take practice tests. It's great to take those tests before you actually sit down and take them. They also have the best teachers. They're experts. That's table stakes. They've got to be expert in the field. But then they're also entertaining. They call them edutainers. In fact, they even have classes for edutainers to help you become better at teaching if you're teaching this stuff. IT Pro TV never bores. It's always fun, and you're learning at every moment. It's fantastic. You can check the reviews on the site. I'll read you one. This is a quote. IT Pro TV is hands down the best LMS site I have used. I have ascertained 4 certs using IT Pro TV. The edutainers are the best in my experience, and the reviews go on, and they're all very positive. We know so many of the IT Pro TV people because we've been talking about them since they started some years ago. And Lisa and I even went out to Gainesville to visit their studios. Amazing. 7 studios now, running all day, Monday through Friday. Because this stuff, you got to keep up to date. No one could do it like they can. And the best part is you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go to Gainesville. You can do it from the comfort of your own home. Watch the stream on your PC or your smartphone, iOS or Android. They also have it on Chromecast, Roku, Apple TV. You can watch them make the live streams, but they also have over 58 hours of on-demand content. And in order to keep that up to date, they're just constantly creating more. This month, May, is Cloud Month at IT Pro TV, training on all 3 major cloud providers, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. So take advantage of that. It's really fun. You know what? It's a great place to be. If you're interested in learning IT or you want to get certs for the job you want, or you want to keep the job you've got and get recertified, you will absolutely benefit from IT Pro TV. Start or advance your IT career today at itpro.tv/Windows. Now, we do have a special deal for you. This is really great. 30% off. This is on any consumer subscription. They have team subscriptions, too, for your team. But this is particularly for the consumer subscriptions. The offer code, make a note of this, WW30. That's easy to remember, Windows Weekly, WW. And the offer code is 30% off, so 30, WW30. itpro.tv/Windows. Make sure you use that, if you will, so they know you saw it here, so we get credit. And use the code WW30 for an additional 30% off. As long as you stay active, that discount continues. So you could basically be saving 30% forever. IT Pro TV. Build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey. We love those guys. Tim Broom, Don Pizzette, been with us since the very beginning, and we're very proud of their success. It's great. A little jealous, too. itpro.tv/Windows. Offer code WW30. Thank you for your support of Windows Weekly. Okay, Paul, dig into this mountain of Xbox wonderfulness.
Yeah. So I said there was a twist. I'm going to do it from the bottom up because I'm going to save the best stories for last.
Okay. It's an upside down pyramid.
Get rid of the fluff first.
Dump the fluff, buddy.
So Microsoft was ready to spend, $12 billion in Discord? 12, right?
12.
Discord said
12.
no.
Yeah.
And then Sony partnered with Discord like 3 days later.
But I saw that, but I don't know if that's any different than
I know.
Microsoft has an Xbox partnership with Discord already.
Yes, right. It's not exclusive. It doesn't ruin anything that Microsoft can do with Discord or is already doing. Yes, right. But
it sounds like they're a little more in on Discord than Microsoft is.
Yeah, they're going to fully integrate it with PlayStation. So this is what, Microsoft could still do this, right? So I wouldn't give up hope on this, but I think when they lost out on Discord, it was like, oh, well, that's the end of that. And it's like, well, they could still use
It ain't
Discord,
over.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
so
They could.
that's an idea.
Discord, by the way, we should mention that, we when we started this Club Twit about 3 weeks ago, by the way, thank you to the thousands of people who've joined. And yes, there's room for you. $7 a month gets you ad-free shows, including this one, audio and video. All our shows ad-free. So there's no tracking, there's no ads. But you also get a Discord. And the Discord has been so much fun. I understand suddenly why kids are so excited about Discord. It's I feel like it's a modern social network. It started with gaming, and so it makes sense for Sony and Microsoft to use that with their consoles. But it's it could be anything. It's.
You say it was good with the kids, did you? So,
yo, hello, fellow kids.
What's up, dogs?
It's what is your handle going to be? MC Paul and coming at you? No, that's old fashioned. I don't know.
MC Hamid.
MC Thurat. I am Hamid. You should do a Boston thing for sure.
Boston.
Yeah.
I have an awesome idea for a Boston-based, I'll call it a sitcom called Townies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically just me and my friend John sitting at a bar. The scene never changes.
I think it was.
It's always this one play. Hold on, this is good. John and I are quite funny when we're together.
Sure.
But every week there would be different people would kind of come and go from the bar, and they would supply the variety.
Does
We would
everybody
kind of
know
riff
your
off
name
them.
at this bar?
Oh, you know they do, Leo.
Of course they do.
They do.
Is there a guy named Cliff that's kind of a know-it-all? He's, kind of always saying, well, let me tell you how that works. Yeah.
No. There's no cast of characters per se.
You
There's
are
a-
the cast of characters, and then
Yes,
everybody else
right.
comes and goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is in its own way a show about nothing.
MC Cod. I think you and Mary Jo could actually do I know you're both from that region. Could really do this whole show. Maybe April Fool's next year, you could do the whole show in a Boston accent. I would love that.
Oh man, the only way my accent comes out is if I've had too many beers.
Yeah, enough to drink.
Then,
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
then
So-
suddenly all the R's are lost.
Get you Sam Adams, and we'll do a.
Sam
Get you
Adams, Leo.
Oh,
no.
I'm sorry. There's better Boston beer than that. I'm
It's
sure.
better.
Yeah.
Give me my Trillium right there,
Trillium.
you know?
Oh, Delirium Tremens? No, that's a different one. I'm sorry. I'm learning the lingo.
That's
when
right. We're getting you in there.
I met three of my sisters, from my dad, my real father, when I was a teenager, and so they spent many months trying to get me to say things in a Boston accent. Like they would be like, "Say car, say park the car in Harvard Yard."
Oh man,
Back to cat.
I'm the only one. I'm like the only one in my family who doesn't have the Boston accent.
Yeah, no, me too.
I love the Boston accent. America loves the Boston accent.
I've told this story. I must have. I was in banking in Phoenix for the 1 year I had to go back to work because I couldn't get in-state tuition, and I was working at a bank, and I was talking to somebody at work, and someone else I worked with was just kind of staring at me, and I was like, "What?" And he says, you could do a really good version of that "ask not what you do for your country" speech or whatever.
That's not what your country can do for you.
And I was like, I just kind of resolved that day. I'm going to work on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, that's not a Boston accent.
Continue
But anyway,
on with the wicked cool
Yes, sorry.
Xbox news.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. I'm the one who's.
it's okay. So, every month, usually twice a month, Microsoft announces games that are coming to the Game Pass platform across console, PC, and now cloud versus, it's really mobile, whatever you want to call it, the cloud streaming service. Last month, if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually had 3 separate announcements, but based on the first announcement for May, this is going to cover the first half of the month, so maybe there'll just be 2 again. But they did just announce several new games that are coming to Xbox Game Pass. Depending on where you are, Just Cause 4 Reloaded, big game, Outlast 2, I think it is, right? Or
Is this an older Red Dead or is this?
Yeah, so I don't know what this is. So it's like Red Dead Online as opposed to Red Dead Redemption 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've actually not heard of that
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah. That's a fun game, though.
yeah, FIFA 2020 or 21. Lots of good stuff. So that's good. That's all good.
Final Fantasy X.
Yep.
So that means
And
if you have a Game Pass, you can play these for free, basically.
Yes, right. But you get it as part of your subscription. Was it February maybe, Microsoft announced some features coming to Xbox Series X and S. for older games, auto HDR and FPS boost, right? So auto HDR adds HDR and effects to games that were created before there was HDR, right? Because how could they have HDR? Automatically without any requirement for the developer to do anything. So that's kind of cool. And then the FPS boost is typically designed. It's not always as clean, but let's say games that were running at 30 frames per second can now run at 60 frames per second if you're using one of the newer consoles, right? Yeah. So when they announced FPS boost, there were probably 20 something games. Maybe there were 12 or something out of 10 more over time. There were 20 something of them, but as of 2 days ago ish, there's almost 100 now. They added 74 more games to the list that support this feature, which is, that's awesome, right? So if you have one of the newer consoles, this is part of the promise of Xbox. You upgrade, your games come forward, and they become better on the newer platform. So that's neat.
Wait a minute. Pog is back.
Okay.
He says there's
Is he talking about the taskbar again?
Yeah. He says there's a date, an error in the date format in the old control panel, and removes the date and only shows the clock if you use as the format lowercase 4Ds space capital M in the short date field.
4D space capital M.
Yeah, lowercase 4Ds DDDD space capital N. I guess
I'm going to try this, not right now because I'm talking, but when Mary Jo is doing her thing, probably or whatever.
Old, right, not the settings, not the new settings panel. This is in the old control panel. It's in the region settings, additional settings. Date tab, the short date. So yes, a part of your regional settings. You're saying, in my world, we live DDDD space capital M. In my world, we say it sounds like there's a 4-character day of the month plus a capital month, and somehow that breaks things. Yeah, try it. This would be cool.
I'm going to try it.
Pog may get his Red Dead Redemption.
That's true.
Yes.
Okay, moving right along.
No, that's
he's doing it. Okay,
that's
more. Let's go more.
Sorry.
He was doing it. I knew he was doing it.
I was looking at it.
You're a liar.
It occurred to me that maybe not doing it on the PC I use every day is, just do it.
Because I have a screenshot.
Yeah.
I have a machine just for screenshots. I will do it. Okay, sorry.
You have standards.
Did I have the dare? I had kind of a dare.
Maybe before the show's over, we'll get a chance to.
I will try
if it works.
I know he will.
You know what? I'm going to do it myself right now.
Why not? Why not?
While you're talking about Xbox. Okay. In fact, Mary Jo, you could do this with me.
I could.
Yes, because you know what's going on.
I'm not saying I recommend it. So anyway, but I will try it. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So where are we in this list? So we got Xbox Game Pass, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So as you probably know, this isn't really a topic for the show per se, but Epic and Apple are actually in court this week, which has me as excited as a little girl on the first day of kindergarten. Woo! And there's a lot of good stuff coming out of this, but among I think it was probably a deposition this came from, I think. Epic Vice President Joe Kreiner said that they are not going to put Fortnite on Xbox Cloud Gaming previously.
That's a surprise.
Because they see it to be competitive with their PC offerings.
This is that same old Epic. Wow, interesting.
Yeah, that's the Epic I know and love.
Wow.
Yeah, this is too bad. I got to say, one of the nicer things that's happened over the past few years is kind of an opening up of crossplay, we'll call it. Sony was very much against this for many years. They've opened up, to it finally. Actually, I think Epic played a role in making that happen. And little things like this, it's like, it's whatever. It's never going to be perfect, right? I don't know how. I don't play Fortnite, so I'm not sure what the cross-play situation is on Fortnite. But obviously, this is a game that's available on consoles, PC. It's available on mobile. Well, not on iPhones. It's basically everywhere. So there must be some cross-play, right? I mean, there must be, right? But I don't know. I don't know how that works. Anyway, it's not coming to Xbox Cloud Gaming. So there you go. Epic. Halo Infinite, right? So Halo Infinite was delayed a year. And now it's going to be awesome.
This. Yeah.
They should be, because they're going to use this full year to make it a much better game. And one of the really cool things they're doing with it is actually what I just talked about, which is They're going to add cross-play and cross-progression across PC and console, which I kind of expected, honestly. But they're also going to support PC-specific features like ultra-wide displays.
Oh, nice.
Which is really interesting.
That'll
and then, of
be
course,
fun.
better frame rates and resolutions and all that stuff. So if you are a PC gamer and you're looking forward to Halo, it's actually, I'd say it's probably going to be a better experience on the PC. So that's cool.
Is there a date yet on that?
Yeah, I think it's just, I don't know the exact date, but I'm going to say probably November this year.
Okay.
End of the year. Okay. I think there's a date. I believe there's a date. I think they delayed it literally 1 year, but maybe there isn't a final date.
Yeah, remember we saw that in the launch video?
Yep, I will never forget it because I always equate it to the Wizard of Oz. Like I was like, this is going to explode into some modern, awesome. Oh, they're moving to the next thing.
Yeah,
I was like, what is this?
It didn't. No.
Yeah.
No.
It was like watching like Doom 64. You're like, it looks better than the original, but it still looks really old.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're going to fix it. So it looks everything they've shown so far since then has looked fantastic. So I think this is one of the bigger stories, I would say, of the week, and it's still kind of hanging in the air because it's not completely told as of yet. But Microsoft this past week announced that they would lower their fees to game developers only in the Microsoft Store for PCs below that industry standard 30% rate, right? So now developers are going to get 88% of the revenue.
Oh, wow, that's big.
To the 70%, right?
That's
so
huge.
It used to be a 70-30 split. Now it's an 88, or it will be an 88-12 split. I think this goes into effect.
They're so smart because, of course, right now the Epic trial against Apple is going on.
Yes.
All eyes are on this.
Thing is,
good timing.
Thing is,
Right. I saw. Wait, can I say one thing about this?
yeah, of course.
Of course, like to me, this was like a no-brainer that Microsoft did that because of the trial, right? But then I saw people saying, "I wonder why they decided to announce that this week." And I'm like, "Wait, are you kidding me?
Some
like,
people don't
you
pay
think it was
attention.
coincidental?" Like,
Okay. So here's what's truly interesting about this. This information is contained in part of the evidence for the Apple versus Google trial.
right?
There's internal documentation
Ow.
that Microsoft supplied that dates back to, I want to say, December. If it's not December, it's January, but it dates back a few months. And there's a couple of really interesting bits in there. One is the thing that they just announced, that sometime in the first half of 2021, Microsoft was going to lower the split from 70-30 to 88-12 for the Microsoft Store for PCs. But the same document says that sometime later in the year, they're going to do the same thing on console. And I got to say, that was my first reaction to this was, wow, that's really interesting. But the Microsoft Store on Windows is not a huge deal. It's probably pretty good for games, but compared to like Xbox or mobile stores, it's not a big thing. Yeah. The bigger deal would be if they did this on Xbox consoles. That would be incredible. Now, that may not be happening, right? So The Verge got a quote from them where they said, we have no plans to change the revenue share for console games at this time. Now, I would say that doesn't necessarily change anything because the document says the plan is for that to happen later in the year. So it could happen later, and it doesn't make the quote wrong. They have since said, Microsoft, right? They can't communicate. So they since gave them a second quote that basically said, we don't have any plans to change. We're not changing it. But I would not lose hope 100% yet. Like, this could still happen. This is the type of thing that should happen now, because this would really hurt Apple. And I'm just surprised they can't do that. But my suspicion, and I think Mary Jo probably agrees with this, is that it's probably too expensive for Microsoft to do this on Xbox. Right. Xbox is a business that really doesn't make money at all.
Right.
And this would make it lose more money. And, and by the way, would probably be really popular, would probably bring more games to the console. They'd probably lose more money,
Right.
So it's kind of a weird deal, but I'd love to see them do this.
I don't think they can afford it. Like, they're losing money on every Xbox console they make.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
And
So
they were going to make it up in the store, but now they're going to lose money, period.
Well, that's always been the theory, right? It's the razor blade plan. You lose money on the initial hardware purchase, but you make it up over time because there's some kind of a fee associated with every game you sell, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't believe Xbox has ever been profitable. I mean, they may have had the one-off quarter here or there, but or now that we've written off the $7 billion it took us to build the Xbox One or whatever. Now this quarter we were profitable. It's like, well, okay, but over time this is not a profitable business. So anyway, I'm just throwing it out. I really don't feel like this is over yet, but maybe there's a different percentage change that would make sense. Maybe it just can't happen. I don't know. I don't know. But if you look at that documentation, it literally says calendar year 2021. We're gonna do this on Xbox too. That was the plan. So I would like that to be the plan, but I don't know.
Interesting.
That's the big one.
Interesting.
The big one, Elizabeth.
Grabbing his chest as he says it. All right. I think it's ready. We're ready to go to the back of the book. If you are ready, we will do that. Let's start.
Are we going to take questions from?
Do you want to do that?
I'm so nervous about going to the back of the book.
Don't go to the back of the book yet. Do you want to take some questions?
Sure, why not? Actually, can I ask a question?
Yeah. First of all, let me say this, though. If you're in the Club Twit Discord, raise your hand if you have a question for Paul and Mary Jo or a comment. We do have a couple people in there. Go ahead.
Also, raise your hand if you have an answer to this question, because I'm interested about this.
All right.
So HP sent me this Elite Folio, which is the kind of spiritual successor to that leather-covered laptop they had, which was called the Spectre Folio. It's the same basic form factor. The exterior is vegan leather, like faux leather, which, by the way, is awesome. It really feels nice. I really like the form factor. It's Windows 10 on ARM this time, so that's the big difference, right? We all know the problems with Windows 10 on ARM, but my question is this. My understanding, because I don't run Windows 10 on ARM day to day, and I just haven't thought about this, but now that this has arrived, I'm thinking about it again, is if I want to run x64 apps on Windows 10 on ARM, I think I still have to get the dev version of the Windows Insider preview. My question is that true, or is this capability available to some other channel in the Windows Insider program? Because honestly, I'd rather not go to dev on this thing. I'd like to, I wouldn't mind going like beta or release preview, obviously, because those things are coming out soon, but that's the question. So I don't know if anybody knows that. I believe it's only on dev.
I did not have, all I remember is because I downloaded Windows on ARM for the virtualization on the M1 Mac. That's the only way you can do it.
Right.
And I didn't have to join anything. I didn't have to be anybody. I just was able to
No, it's not that.
It.
So I'm sorry.
But I don't know what channel it was on. I know
to explain, to explain what the issue is there, the dev channel is not associated with a version of Windows, right? Yeah. I don't mind, in other words, if it was like, look, it's beta and release preview right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think are both 21H1 still, right? So that would be a really safe thing to go to. That's going to be released any day now. It's not a problem. Dev channel is a little more iffy to me because I don't know how you get out of it, and I don't want to have to wipe it, and I don't, it's an ARM box, like I don't want to screw with it, but if I could install something semi-safe and get x64, I'd be all over it, but I want to.
So doing a quick bing on this.
as one does, yes.
As one does.
Yes.
I see Windows on ARM can run x64 apps in beta.
Oh, beta. Where do you see that?
I see it on
Windows 10.
So beta is better than dev. One step closer to release.
Where is this from? Let's see. Is
65. That's not a thing.
Search for.
Sorry, I didn't mean to grind this thing to a halt.
Sorry.
Back in December, if I'm not mistaken, it was dev only originally, but maybe that's.
I know
changed.
that maybe this is a mistake because I'm looking at it now and I'm like, I still think it. Did it ever go to beta after that?
Oh, Raphael's telling me it's dev only. Yeah.
Is it still dev only? Yeah, so that's a mistake.
Yeah, 21. It was 21.277.
See, that's why I shouldn't have binged it. I shouldn't have binged it, guys.
Never bing.
Right. You should have wrapped it.
Let me
raft it. Raft it.
We are going to the stage, and I should mention that this is for Club Twit members. If you're not yet a member, you go to twit.tv/clubtwit. You can find out all about it. $7 a month. I have invited Not in Orbit, Rakuti, and X-T on stage, waiting for Vernon Vincent. Let's start with Rakuti because he was the first to raise his hand. Unmute your mic and say hello to Paul and Mary Jo.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you great. Where are you from?
Chennai, India.
Are you calling from Chennai?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Welcome.
Wow.
Nice to have you. Am I saying your name right,
Thank you.
Rakudi?
No, actually, that's a weird username. My name is Karthik.
Katek. Okay.
Karthik, yeah.
Although
I have a question
Rat Cutie is a great
Sorry.
name too. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, it basically means rat, the animal.
Oh,
Right, So
okay.
my question... Sorry?
Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is to Paul. I know he used to have a Microsoft band and he right now uses Fitbit. So I was just thinking, clearly there is a market for wearables because like Fitbits and Apple Watch are selling in like crazy numbers.
Right.
Do you think that the Surface team, when the Surface team does a hardware, they really do their like research and like their hardware is exceptional, as far as I know. So do you think down the line there is a possibility that they may have a second go at wearables? Like there is clearly a space in the marketplace to, like for wearables.
Right. So I don't think they will do it again, but I will say this, like when the first version of the band came out, the thing that was unique about it was just the sheer number of sensors that it had. Today, that's actually pretty common across smartwatches and even fitness bands. But at the time, it was a real differentiator. And of course, Microsoft is one of those companies that most people, I would assume, trust with their data. They have healthcare connections and so forth. Like it seemed like a good fit. The second version of the band mostly fixed some of the problems they had with the first version around reliability and all that stuff. And it just seemed like a market they should stay in at the time. And to me, even now, I understand why they got out of phones. I kind of don't understand why they got out of fitness bands. And I do use a Fitbit smartwatch today. What I really want is a fitness band sized device like the band, like the Microsoft band, but with a color screen. And Fitbit just announced their first version of a product like that like last week, and I'm not going to get it now because I already have the watch. But I like that form factor better than a watch, which is like this big thing sitting on your wrist. But I just feel like from a capabilities perspective, unfortunately, I don't remember how many years it is now, but the Fitbits and Apple Watches of the world have kind of caught up from a capabilities perspective. And I just don't see them getting back into this.
Too bad.
But I want to throw a but in here. But
Yeah, please do.
Microsoft said they would never make a phone again. And then they
Right.
did the Surface Duo, which is not really a phone, but sort of.
Sort of.
So they
Yeah,
could
that's
do
altogether.
something.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
could do
yeah.
something like that with the band. Like they got totally out of fitness bands, but they introduced some new kind of form factor, like a bracelet type thing or whatever that is a smart bracelet or some kind of smart device, and say, well, we said we weren't going to be in fitness bands, but we never said we weren't going to be in wearables. Right?
The Microsoft band was such a perfect compromise between at the time basic Fitbit bands and then full blown Apple Watch type smartwatches.
They seem ambivalent about health. They got out of Microsoft Health.
I know.
And then maybe
Except-
there are privacy considerations that they don't want.
Yeah,
they
they got out
Sure.
of consumer health, right? They got out of consumer
Right,
health, but
right.
they have a
That's
ton
right.
of enterprise health
Right.
stuff on the back end still,
Right.
right?
Interesting.
I wish they had never left this market. I really like that.
But remember
my wife
the
really
last
liked it too.
band. The last band broke, right? Like the hardware was terrible, right? It was like
I think that was the first one.
shredding.
The first one, those fell apart.
I thought it was
Remember
even the second one, though.
I didn't experience that myself, but yeah, the first one was a huge problem. You might remember we were at you remember the Danish bar in San Francisco. It's
McKellar.
famous. McKellar, thank you. And some Microsoft folks showed up and swapped bands for me so I could get a
Yeah, that's
one
right.
with the-
Yep.
That's fun.
Yep. Mhm.
That's fun.
Yeah.
yeah McKellar. right.
Karti, do you have one? Is that why you're asking, or what's your interest in the band?
No, I haven't used band, but I do own several Fitbits. Like I have six
Wow.
Fitbits in my house.
I had six
No, but-
Fitbits, but they all went through the laundry. So
Yeah.
No, like Paul was mentioning, there is a reason why they left phones, and there is a reason why they again like trying back on the phones. But the industry, the wearable industry, is still alive. I don't see a point
very
why
much.
they need to leave that market.
Yeah, I
much
can't
alive.
explain it either. I really wish they'd stuck it out. But Microsoft, I could be wrong about this bit of it, but I feel like Microsoft Band might have been one of those Microsoft products that never made it outside the United States. Does that sound right? Like I think it might have only been available in the US for the short time it was available, a couple of years, whatever it was.
Karti, I know it's the middle of the night. How are things in your area of India? We hear terrible news about India and COVID-19. How are you doing?
I'm working from home actually, so I haven't ventured out, so I'm quite safe. But yeah, the things are pretty. It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
our thoughts are with you, and do stay safe. And it's great to hear from you. It's so nice to have you listening from
Thank you so
Chennai,
much.
especially in the middle of the night. Thank you. Thank you, Karti. Let me move on to Not in Orbit, who has a lovely raccoon as his avatar. Hi, Not in Orbit.
Hi, everyone. How are we doing?
Yeah, we're great. Where are you calling from?
Nowhere near as interesting as Karti. I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Ann Arbor. Now, that's interesting. What's your question for Paul and Mary Jo?
So I have, it's not a question, but I have an idea for you about Windows subsystem for Linux. The last couple of weeks, you all have been asking kind of what is the point? And I feel like you've sort of danced around what I think the point is, but I haven't quite nailed it. And I think it's for enterprise system management.
Yes, I
So
think you're
I'm
right. No, I think you're right. I mean,
I'm a
look at-
security pro and
Yeah.
a sysadmin,
Yeah.
and I've got a lot of tools for managing Windows systems, but I have really limited capabilities for doing Linux and Mac systems.
Right.
So if I can get the tools my users need on Windows boxes, I can still easily manage those systems without having to stand up a bunch of extra stuff for the Mac and Linux environments.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Which Linux distro do you use from the Microsoft Store? Do you have a preference?
I've got Kali running on my system just for the
Figures.
security tools,
Yeah,
but
that
I'm
makes sense. Yeah.
not much of a Linux user.
Yeah. But having those available on your users' systems gives you some capabilities you wouldn't have with Windows otherwise.
Yeah, for our dev teams, especially when we're looking at things like mapping drives to our Windows backend servers, it's a giant pain in the butt on Linux and Mac systems. So being able to do that over Windows and still have those Linux utilities the dev team and the research scientists want is going to be huge for us.
That makes a lot of sense. It's great to hear from you. Thank you, Not in Orbit. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move on to, let's see, X minus T. I think we talked to X minus T before. Hi, X minus T.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome.
I was wondering, am I hearing feedback, or is that just me?
It must just be you. You sound fine.
Okay, good.
That sounds good.
I was wondering, everyone, Microsoft used to have the single sign-on service called Passport.
I remember
now
that.
Apple,
That was the very first, before
Go ahead.
anybody. Yeah.
That was Hailstorm.
Yeah. Is that what it was called originally?
Well, Hailstorm was the overall. It was the only thing they ever shipped
Yeah.
that was going to be part of Hailstorm.
So, but I was wondering. So now Apple's getting into the single sign-on. Google, of course, has theirs, and I'm trying to get off of all Google services, as many as I can. And I switched over to Outlook. I have Office 365 subscription. I use Outlook on my desktop. Blah blah blah. I'm trying to get off of Google services, but there's just some things that I can't get rid of. And I was wondering if Microsoft was ever going to consider having a single sign-on again.
Oh, they do. So
They kind of do, yeah, with the authenticator.
yeah,
But I was wondering, just like random websites, and that's probably a service that they would actually have to.
Passport was an idea before its time.
Yeah, it was.
If they had done it now, I think they might have been a huge success.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
think so.
people freaked out.
There's no good name for this, but Microsoft obviously has like the authenticator, but they also have this kind of back-end password service that is part of Microsoft Edge, and you can bring it to mobile through the authenticator app, so that you're, instead of using Google's password autofill capabilities or on iOS Apple's, you can use Microsoft's instead. And I did actually, I mean, I wrote something about that back in March, I think, and I'm using it now. But but as far as, like password management and like what Microsoft calls passwordless sign-in, I actually think they do a better job of it than anybody. So just a simple example.
That's why I would be interested in this being more widely adopted.
The two things I really like about it are, I just did this, I sign into I get a computer to review, type in my email address and hit enter. And then I type, I go to my authenticator app. I don't remember the password. I don't have to worry about that. So that's cool. The other thing Microsoft does right that Apple and Google don't do right, and this drives me crazy, is if you use Windows Hello on Windows, whether it's a PIN or a fingerprint or a camera, you never have to type in your password ever. But when you sign into a Mac or an iOS device or a Google, like an Android device, every once in a while, it will say, for better security, you have to type in your PIN or your password or whatever. Yeah. And what these things are better security. Like Microsoft never makes you do that.
Yeah.
So I think the closest you can get to what I think you're looking for is what I just described. So obviously on Windows, use the Microsoft stuff. And on whatever mobile platform you're using, you can replace the autofill. Use Microsoft Authenticator and then replace the autofill, which works for websites and apps on that platform through Authenticator. And it mostly works. I mean, I say that only because unfortunately most people who are using, just a byproduct of most people who have been using Google all along, every once in a while you'll see something called, like, I think it's Google Smart Lock will pop up. Your passwords are kind of still there. Or sometimes you'll be hitting like a password field in an app, waiting for the little thing to come up with a keyboard where you can, use Authenticator and it never appears. I think that's just because it's new. I think that will eventually happen, or maybe it has something to do with the way, apps are written. But I think that's the modern version of this passport.
I think the your review a couple months ago said that the Authenticator it had just come out with the password fill, and I think you said it's a little early days on it. And I was just wondering. Yeah,
and that's the type of thing I'm talking. Like every once in a while. For some reason, it just doesn't do the Authenticator thing. I can't. There's no way to know why, But mostly it works great. I mean,
you see, you go to a website, you'll see sign in with Twitter, sign in with Google, sign in with Apple.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing.
You don't see a sign in with Microsoft. Do they even have a sign in with Microsoft? No. Do they?
Yeah, technically they do, but you never see it anywhere except on Microsoft.
Bruna was putting that out in the
case.
IRC.
The idea is you're using Microsoft Edge as the browser, or you're using a Chromium-based browser with like the I don't remember what it's called, but the Microsoft add-in that will enable the same functionality.
I have to say, in most cases, this sign-in with Facebook, Twitter, Google, Apple is really just a ploy to gather information about you. It's not. It's so maybe Microsoft just doesn't have the same interest in, data collection.
I'm obviously not a Mac or an Apple guy. What with me co-hosting this podcast and everything, but if I were, I would trust Apple, right, with this information. Exactly. I think they're a trustworthy kind of company. So if I was like a Mac iOS guy, I wouldn't have any problems with that. I'm not. So as a Microsoft guy, I do trust Microsoft. I certainly trust Microsoft more than I trust, like, say, Google. Yeah. And understand your desire to get away from that as much as possible. But right now, I think this is as far as you can go with that. I don't know that you'll ever see a sign-in with Microsoft. I don't think it's 100% necessary, because if you're using the Microsoft backend stuff, however you're using it, whether literally through Edge or on mobile through this password capability in Microsoft Authenticator, it's not really necessary,
I do love the single sign-on thing, though, where you log into Windows and it says, "All right, we're going to send you a message on your phone." That is I think that's fantastic. And I would love to see that more widely used.
You know where that isn't supported though, oddly, is in native store apps on Windows, right? So you sign in with your Microsoft account. I mean, you can do it. Like Microsoft apps do this. They'll pass through your sign-in, right? Which is what you want typically, and they'll let you sign out and sign into another account if you want on individual apps. But you don't see a lot of that in third-party apps for some reason.
I wonder if is that using OAuth too, or is it some other technology? I wonder.
I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, X-T.
Did that?
You guys.
I don't even know if that answered the question. I'm sorry.
No, but
It's close enough.
yeah, well, you raised it.
You basically answer it.
Yeah, you raised an interesting point. Microsoft was very early on single sign-on. I think Passport.
And then I think Hailstorm failed so badly, they kind of got cold feet about, and there were some fundamentally good ideas in there.
Yeah. We'll take one more. This is fun. Do you guys want to do one more? Sure. Let's get one for Mary Jo in here, though. Vernon Vincent's next. Hello, Vernon.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Wonderful, wonderful. First of all, I do want to say what a pleasure it is to talk to you guys. I've followed Paul since the mid-'90s days when he was covering the Microsoft antitrust trial, and it's just been really exciting to just kind of watch Windows Weekly over the years and all of that. So I wanted to get my fanboy out of the way right now.
It's a great show.
I want to say thank you. Also, I bet Mary Jo does. I recognize your face.
Oh yeah, we know Vernon.
Yeah,
we know Vernon well.
I try to use a consistent graphic.
Yes.
So anyway, here I've been watching, as some people have, the Apple Epic trial, which has just been fascinating in the revelations and the various leaked emails. It's it's like watching TMZ, as Leo mentioned earlier. And I put some thought lately into the App Store issue, because I kind of agree with the thoughts that multiple app stores just won't work. They've proven that they really don't. They're not a viable solution. But then a few weeks ago, I had read about Microsoft maybe opening up their store for developers to host their own apps on their own content delivery services, and then hook those into their app stores. And that kind of dovetailed with something I was thinking in my head, which was maybe Apple and Google using a federated solution for apps, like the way podcasts do, where you have a file that gets uploaded. And I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts and a point of view on that, because that really seems like it would nicely handle. Apple will never go along with this, of course, but I just wanted to see if there's any pitfalls or technical issues I hadn't really thought about on that.
Well, there is the rumor that with the new Windows, whatever that is, coming up when Microsoft reorganizes the App Store, that there could be a way to have apps from other vendors, like have almost like a sub-store of Amazon and a sub-store of Google inside of the Microsoft Store, or to show up in the Microsoft Store. Like, that is one rumor I've been hearing more lately, and that would kind of give us the clue. About the rumor that around Project Latte, which is the Android apps running on Windows, because we keep saying, how is that going to happen? Like, how physically is that going to happen? Well, maybe that's the way that happens, right? So I don't know technically how that would work, or if it would just be a pointer to the other stores or whatever. But I'm sure Microsoft would love to have their store be more than just apps that developers build for Windows. They want to make it like the universal store. But again, how that happens and if that can happen, and what, say, Amazon and Google would get out of that happening, I don't really know.
I think this kind of goes back to that. I think you talked about this last week, that conversation you had with Kevin Gallo 2 years ago at Build.
Yeah.
Where at the time, the plan was that Microsoft focused developers could take apps that previously had to be distributed to the store and would allow them to be distributed anywhere. The problem there was that one of the promises of the store is that somehow these apps are vetted and they're supposed to be trustworthy to users, and that they hadn't figured out at that time how to make that work, right? And now we're hearing rumors that that's finally going to happen. So 2 years later, maybe they have figured that out, and maybe this is all part of that plan. But I mean, I don't know. This is kind of tangential to this, but the more I think about it, when you think about Apple and Epic and Spotify and the stuff that's going on in the court cases, I think the behavioral change that has to happen is more important than, in fact, is much more desirable than multiple app stores, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't mind Apple having their own app store like Google does or whatever, but they're being unfair right now, right? So if they could solve this problem just by lowering fees, by not letting, or by allowing developers to use their own payment systems, by allowing developers to contact their own customers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I like what constitutes a store.
Right.
Like if the Kindle app lets you browse the store of Kindle content, is that a store on a store? Or, like Epic wants to sell little things for Fortnite inside of Fortnite. I mean, is that a store technically? I mean, are they,
Right.
I don't know. I don't, to me, those are just in-app purchases. I understand there's a store, literally a store, and maybe in both cases.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, in Windows, it's a completely different thing because unfortunately, or whatever, just by way of circumstance, Windows is Windows. It's a desktop operating system. I mean, the Microsoft Store has not taken off in any appreciable way. If it wasn't there, would it matter? I don't know. I mean, it's gotten okay. I think for people who play games on PC, it's another way to get games on the PC. It's not replacing anything else. It kind of sits alongside Steam and Epic, which have their own stores.
Yeah. I would though like there to be a place where if I needed a productivity app or some non-game app too, that I could just go and feel like safer about downloading it.
No,
like
it's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there still can be malware in stores, and there are a lot of examples of that happening. But I guess I would just feel, for quote normal users, it feels like an extra level of protection instead of saying to them, go download Chrome, because there's so many fake pointers to Chrome, right?
There's good licensing associated with it. I always use the Photoshop example, like Photoshop Elements. You can install it on however many computers you have associated with your account. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I like that stuff, but I don't know. It doesn't feel super essential. It hasn't replaced anything else, And by the way, Microsoft doesn't use it themselves for a lot of things. You still go to office.com if you want to get Office. Can't download the Office apps. I can't, even on the Mac, I can download just Word or just Excel if I want that.
I know.
In their
Visual
store.
Studio. Visual Studio is not in the store, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is Visual Studio any less safe because it's not in the store? It's still coming to you from Microsoft, obviously.
True. Right.
I don't know. It's a tough one.
I know.
It's just something, I don't know.
I want
for some reason,
Microsoft to explain this. I really want them to tell us what's going on with this Sun Valley and all that, Yeah.
And by the way, so we keep, we always punt things forward, like, build is coming. Maybe we'll talk about it then, right? So this is a really good example of something that has to be discussed at build because it's developer related, right? So whether they talk about Sun Valley explicitly, like new features and the new look and feel, whatever, anything that they're doing that changes the developer story should be discussed at build. So I would hope if this is happening this year, whatever it is, that they do discuss it at build. And that's only 3 weeks away, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. We're gonna cover the keynote live because you told me to.
Good.
wait, what?
Vernon, where are you located, Vernon?
I am located just west of Springfield, Illinois.
Nice. It's great to have you. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for joining Club Twit.
Me.
We really, really appreciate it.
This is becoming an exercise in talking a lot, but not necessarily answering questions. Like
it's a conversation. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's a conversation. It's
because they're kind of unanswerable, I guess. In the sense that we don't literally know what they're doing, so it's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, we don't.
No, but it's raising an issue. I have no problem with it. Yeah. Thank you to all our callers. We're not going to get to Jack and crazy Andy Leroy, but we will do it another
crazy
time.
Andy Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, I asked him, and that's exactly where it comes from. He's a gamer, and I guess that's right. He knows Leroy Jenkins. Let's do the back of the book. Paul Thurrott.
Oh yeah,
kick it off. That thing. You've been putting it off. Now it's time.
Okay. We talked about Windows 10 version 21H1. And you may remember, I don't remember when this ended exactly. They made a change in the Windows Insider program that kind of removed this necessity. But there used to be this thing I called the magic window. And it was this period of time where if you were in the Insider program and you were on the next version of Windows, and the next version of Windows was coming out, you could kind of get off the train, and then you would just kind of pick up normal updates like through the stable channel, essentially going forward. There was a really, it was a kind of a neat idea. I think sometimes people test a version of Windows for a while, they get kind of burned out from testing. They don't want to install all the builds, and they're like, you know what, just want to be unstable now for a while, and maybe in the future I'll switch back. So we don't have to do that anymore, because now there's a switch in settings where you can just literally on the Windows Insider page in settings, you can say when this version of Windows comes out, take me out of here, right? So you don't have to deal with that anymore. It's nice. But we can still get Windows 10 version 21H1 early if we want it. I've had a lot of people ask me why they would want such a thing. If you're asking me that question, you don't want it. That's a silly question. Why did the man climb the mountain? Because it was there. Why does the Windows enthusiast want the next version of Windows? Because they're a Windows enthusiast. There is no major new feature as we discussed, but if you want it, you can get it easily enough. And there are a couple of different ways. The way that I have done this is just to enroll your computer in the release preview, reboot, come in, check for updates. You'll be offered 21H1, install it, reboot. And then then there's that switch. So if you go, let me just look and see what it says. If you go to settings, update and security, and then Windows Insider program, I can't see it because I'm not in the Insider program here. There'll be a switch at the bottom that says, get me out of this program. It says, I'm paraphrasing, get me out of this program when the next version ships. All right. So you just flick it to on and you're good. You'll get updates if there are any before it's released. And once it is released, you'll get updates through stable channel normally in Windows Update. So super easy, not as messy as it used to be. Not a huge reason to get it. I mean, for sure. And then for the app pick, I feel like every week there's been, it's like browser, a lot of new browser stuff going on. So this past week, Vivaldi announced the latest version of their Chromium-based browser, compared to things like Edge or Chrome itself, I guess, or Opera, or what else is out there? Brave. I don't remember what I've said there, but all these other Chromium browsers. I think the big differentiator in Vivaldi is just the customization stuff. So if you want a browser that you can literally customize every little thing and make it look exactly like you want, you should be looking at Vivaldi. It's kind of amazing. But one of the things that they added this week was a feature called Cookie Crumbler, which I just love the name of, which is based on their ad blocking feature, which, by the way, is also another built-in feature of Vivaldi. And what it does is it eliminates most of the cookie warnings. Like, you go to a website, like whether it's on mobile or desktop, where, it's like this site would like to send you notifications. These things, I'm sorry. You get a cookie pop-up, I'm confusing things. A couple of summers ago when we went to Europe, every European website has like a cookie thing. It's like a GDPR feature, or a GDPR requirement, I should say. Yes, I've already agreed cookies, but you have to agree every single time. This will turn those off for most sites. And they use two public third-party block lists to determine which cookies to just kind of sail by. It's not perfect, apparently, but it should work probably with most websites. And like an ad blocker, you can say, turn this feature off for this particular website if you're experiencing problems. So
I think there
kind
should
of
be
just a
more sweet, delicious pastry named cookie.
like cookie crumbler.
Cookie crumbler.
Unnecessarily cute, but I like it.
Hey, by the way,
the
I just tried Pog's tip, and it works.
Oh, it does. Good.
It does. But good luck getting into the classic control panel in Windows 10, because apparently it's hidden deeply away in 20H1. I found an article on how to do it, but they buried it. You have to actually do the run command and type in an obscure run command.
Man.
Yeah, it is. But you can get to it. Explorer.exe space shell colon, and then you have to know this long GUID and crazy. But once you find that, you can get to it. You have to go in the date region settings, the date settings, and without getting back into the modern settings panel. And if you do D space capital M, I see no date on my taskbar.
I like it.
Which I'm now wondering, how do I get it back, actually?
Right.
But it does. It totally works. It totally works. Yeah.
Nice.
But I do think that you're probably up to date, which means you can't just go to the classic remote control panel anymore. You have to jump through some hoops to get to it.
I'll figure it out.
Really? You want some help, Paul? I can come over.
I can do it.
You sure? Okay. Mary
So
Jo
who came up with this?
Pog, P-O-G. Pog. I don't know where he found it. To get the date back, hit the reset button on that page, obviously, and it'll go back to the region settings.
Awesome. Good.
Pog, you've done it again. Oh my beamish boy. Let us go to Mary Jo Foley, and it's time for her enterprise pick of the week.
Right. My enterprise pick is goals. What kind of goals, you may ask? Goals in Power BI, of course. So Microsoft announced a feature this week called Goals in Power BI, which, as the name indicates, builds on top of Power BI. Goals is something that people who care about performance management type products will care about. It lets you measure your key business metrics and then use those against goals so that you can figure out, where am I, where do I want to be, and create goals for yourself and your organization and kind of keep tabs on your progress towards them. As one of my colleagues at ZDNet said, goals makes your KPIs, your OKRs, and your scorecards remarkably easily connected and integrated with other apps like Teams. If you don't know what those acronyms are, you probably don't care about goals. Actually, KPI, key performance indicator, OKR, objectives, and key results. So if you are somebody who's kind of been scarred by scorecards, if you live through the Kevin Turner era at Microsoft and the word scorecards really scares you, you might want to rethink it and try out goals. So right now it is in public preview. Ultimately, it will be built into Power BI Premium, which goes for $20 per user per month, or $10 per user per month add-on to Power BI Pro. There you go.
Wow.
Goals.
Goals. Go, goals. And we got 2 enterprise picks today.
We do. The second enterprise pick, since we were talking about Windows and where is it along the roadmap earlier, let's talk about Windows Server 2022. Because of that name, you would think it was either be out next year or at least towards the end of this calendar year. And that's kind of what we've all been thinking all the way along. But we may be in a situation where Microsoft is going to under-promise and over-deliver. Remember that from the good old Windows 8 days? Yeah, it's back. I think Windows Server 2022 may be out before the end of this year because some things changed last week with the new build around it. There was no more watermark on it. People were having trouble using their existing keys. And when we asked Microsoft, what's going on with Server 2022? They said, we have no comment. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to make this available earlier. I won't say before mid-year. I think maybe around mid-year. And if you want, here's my plug. If you want to know more about what we know right now about Server 2022 and where we think it is, I did a very interesting Microsoft chat recently, Microsoft chat called MJF Chat on Petri, where I talked with my special guest, Michael Reinders, all about Server 2022 and what we know and don't know. It's free. It's on petri.com, and there's a transcript, a podcast. We don't know more than we know at this point, but still, we do know a few things. So if you care about the next version of Server, you should check that out.
Look at you pretending to use a Surface Book. Isn't that sweet? Where'd you get that? Maybe that was your old Surface Book.
That's my Surface Laptop 3.
Oh, it is the laptop. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It looked
and that's
thicker.
A picture. Aunt Pruitt took that picture of me when I was at Twit the last time. So
Aunt's the greatest. Yeah.
I know. He just took a candid. I'm like, wow, that's a great picture. Thank you.
He's such a good photographer. Yeah.
So good and so unobtrusive too. Which
He
nice.
just sneaks. I don't know how a guy that big
does.
with muscles the size of a loaf of bread could sneak up on you, but he does.
He does.
He's just he's a very good photographer, and he's so sweet that you just kind of go with it. So that's at petri.com, petri.com, the MJF chat, most recent one. Cool.
Yes.
Now, let us get some beer in here.
Or
Not a beer. It's cocktails. It's cocktail time. Cookies.
as you may know, Leo,
Yes.
it is Cinco de Mayo today.
What? Oh my God! I had no idea.
Yeah. So Mary Jo asked if my wife maybe had a Cinco de Mayo themed cocktail for today.
She has.
And of course she does. 'Cause
Paloma
she has
Blanca.
a themed cocktail for every day that ends in Y. And so I've not heard this term before, but the drink is called a pink paloma, and a paloma is apparently a kind of a cocktail. It's grapefruit juice based, which is my wife's favorite, honestly, with cocktails. This doesn't surprise me. But basically 4 ounces of pink grapefruit juice. We have I think I told this, we have a neighbor who's, yeah, we did. Of course, it was the name of one of the cocktails. We have a neighbor whose mother sends him crates of citrus every month. I have no idea why. So we get these giant grapefruit all the time, and we use them for cocktails. So my wife has like an industrial juicer, and she juices for the neighborhood. But anyway, 4 ounces of pink grapefruit juice, 1/2 ounce of lime juice, splash of simple syrup, and 2 ounces of tequila or mezcal, which is interesting because those things are very different. Mezcal is very smoky usually, which is
Tequila is a mezcal.
I understand. I'm sorry.
So it's in the category mezcal, but it's a kind of mezcal that is not smoky. Yeah.
Okay.
I only know that because Mike Elgin told me, because we're going to drink a lot of mezcal. In Oaxaca in October. So I had.
Well, yeah. There's actually yeah. So I think is it from that area? Like there's a place called
they make
tequila.
it there.
Yeah. Right.
Well, typically you don't get tequila in Oaxaca. You get mezcal because that's what they they drink.
Yeah.
Even though tequila is a mezcal, which is complicated. No scurvy. That's the good news.
Yes, that's right.
You got grapefruit.
That's right.
You got
this
limes.
it's a combination of a health drink and a cocktail.
I love it.
Right.
You know why I don't know? It's May 5th. Somebody told me to get rid of my date in my system taskbar. And I had no idea.
See what happens when that happens?
Awesome.
I had no idea. Thank you.
Kind of a bigger fan of Cinco de Cuatro than Cinco de Mayo.
May the 4th. We celebrated. Yeah, but I'm getting some tequila for tonight. That's fun.
Wow.
So it's called the Pink Paloma.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Is a paloma a horse?
I don't know. A paloma is apparently, let's see. We should look this
Una
up.
paloma blanca.
It's one of many things.
I'm just a bird in the sky.
Paloma is a tequila-based cocktail.
Okay.
The drink is most
Not a
commonly
horse.
prepared by so it's like tequila, lime juice, and a grapefruit flavored soda such as Fresca, Squirt, or Jarritos.
Oh, all right.
So she does say in her thing. I guess a lot of times you can add so she's using actual lime juice, right? So you could add a splash of club soda.
Oh, it's not a pony. It's a dove. A white dove, una paloma blanca. It's a white dove. So, but paloma.
So it's a pink paloma because
paloma.
it's a pink grapefruit.
Pink grapefruit. And Mary Jo and I cannot drink this, but we'll just drink this mezcal straight, and we'll be happy. Yeah.
I know. I'm sad I can't drink grapefruit now. I grapefruit.
I had mezcal with Mary Jo last week.
Yeah, you did. I didn't try it though.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that seems too smoky. I don't know if I'd like that.
It was smoky.
You know, I had a grapefruit kombucha, and it didn't knock me out, so I don't know.
I love kombucha. Kombucha's the best.
This was a good kombucha. When you come out here, we'll have grapefruit kombucha. We went out. In fact, I think it's going to be our new Monday night thing. There's a downtown. There's a little tiny square, and there's a restaurant right on the square where you normally eat outside.
Yeah.
But they have been bringing bands in, and on Monday night now there's a band.
Nice.
We sat outside. We had our delicious meal, and then danced. It was like COVID never happened. It was
nice.
very exciting.
And this is how we come back. You have these little slices of normal, and it starts to feel more normal.
Yeah.
And you do have to inch in. I was thinking it's kind of like the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy lands a house on the witch. At first, they're reluctant, and they slowly tiptoe out. But pretty soon, we're out of the woods, we're out of the dark, we're out of the night. Woo!
Yep.
All right. I'm sorry. I've been singing.
And you've gone too far when you look over and you're hugging someone you don't even know.
Yeah.
And what has happened here?
It was like that. It was like a hippie fest. What's hysterical is all older people, because the young people haven't yet got vaccinated, so they're standing at the distance looking at their masks on,
looking
going,
suspiciously.
what is going on? And all the
They're
people
touching
my
each other.
age, we're old hippies. We're
Right.
going. It was so much fun. I have a video, but I won't burden you with it. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mary Jo. It is so nice to see you, healthy and well, as we head into summer, a brand new summer. I think it's going to be great.
I hope so.
Paul Thurrott at thurrott.com. His book, The Field Guide to Windows 10, is always updated. It's available at leanpub.com. One of the nice ways of, if you buy a digital book, you can always get those updates, which is great. Although, if you like paper, do they still have those posters? Because they are the best posters ever.
Yeah, we do. But I think those are going to be going by the wayside for the next version. Yeah.
They're great Windows 10, how-to posters.
Yeah, they're
fantastic.
They're really neat.
Love them. Mary Jo Foley, allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's the website for her ZDNet blog. Someday, we're going to get the Foley ultimatum. And
The Foley. That's what you should call this podcast.
Yes.
The Foley ultimatum.
Oh, yes. The Foley identity. And we will learn the secrets of Mary Jo's sources, but not today.
Not today.
Thank you, you two. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC, middle of the night in Chennai. I'm sorry, but thank you for staying up late, Karthi.
I recognize that guy too. Like I see him on.
Me
I
too.
recognize his face.
Yep.
Right.
Same.
You have
Yep.
your fans, and that's. I have to say, once we started Club Twit, I know most of the people in there. They're if you're going to pay $7
No
a
idea
month,
who was from India.
you're the hardcore fans. You're the ones that care enough to to support the network and to be in the chat and so and I know most of the people in the IRC as well. And so those people are very familiar to us, and it's really nice to hear their voices, to hear where they're from.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is neat.
We're gonna do some live events at some point. I think we have to once we can all be out and about.
Yeah.
I can't wait to shoot T-shirts into a crowd again. It's a slice of my life that just.
Except for that older woman you knocked over, I feel bad about that.
Just
but,
not right.
yeah, she was all right.
Sorry.
She was all right. Sorry. If you want to watch us do it live, there's a couple of ways you can do it. If you're in Club Twit, we always open a stage. That's how people got the questions in. And so you can listen live. We don't yet have video streaming live, but that's at twit.tv/clubtwit if you want to know more about that. As I mentioned, $7 a month. You can also watch the free live stream at twit.tv/live, of course, audio and video. IRC is always open, going great. Those are the people watching live all the time. irc.twit.tv. After the fact, you can get shows at twit.tv/ww. That's our website where you can download the shows. But you can also get them on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel. In fact, if you go to twit.tv/ww, you can see the link to the YouTube channel. You can click on one of the podcast players, subscribe there. You'll get it automatically. And if you are not listening in real time, we still have conversations going on. Don't feel left out at our community forums. That's www.twit.community. In our Mastodon instance, the Fediverse is at twit.social. And, of course, in Club Twit. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
You know what's fun? Android. You know what's even more fun, though? All About Android. That's my show, Jason Howell, along with my co-hosts Ron Richards, Florence Ion, and we welcome guests on each and every week from throughout the Android ecosystem, developers, Googlers, journalists, people who are all geeked out about the Android operating system. We tell you everything you need to know. Twit.tv/AAA every Tuesday. We'll see you there.